Hello guys, welcome to Soul Fiction. So in this video, we will see the what if Naruto had gamer system, and cheat codes and became OP. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. Cheat code activated. Morning rays fell across the hidden leaf village like gentle threads of gold. The usual bustle of shopkeepers setting up their stands, shinobi trotting toward missions, and academy students messing around in the streets was in full swing. Yet for a certain blonde prankster, the day felt like a storm on the horizon. Naruto Uzumaki, loudmouthed troublemaker, container of the nine-tailed fox, and the class dunce in the eyes of most, had woken up with a strange sensation thrumming inside his head. He found himself staring blearily at a bluish, translucent screen that hovered in front of his face. The sight was so bizarre he half expected to still be dreaming. It read, "Welcome to the gamer system. New quest. Graduate from the academy. Reward." He blinked twice, sure that his morning brain was messing with him. But no, the box remained, shimmering in midair. His heart thumped as he reached out and waved a hand through it. Instead of dispersing, it flickered like some intangible projection. A wave of excitement coursed through him. Naruto scrambled out of bed. The cramped one-room apartment he called home was its usual disarray of crumpled clothes and instant ramen cups. He almost tripped over a scattered pack of kunai on the floor. With a gasp, he caught himself just in time. The screen didn't disappear. It followed his movements, always floating just to the side of his vision. "What the hell?" he whispered. "This is some weird genjutsu, right?" But as he rubbed his eyes, another screen popped up. Genjutsu resistance leveled up. That made his pulse race. If this were a genjutsu, it wouldn't give him notifications about resisting genjutsu. Or would it? His mind ran in circles. Still, the messages felt oddly real. He pressed a finger to the swirling text and found he could interact with it as if it were a touch interface. Another smaller window opened. Status. Name: Naruto Uzumaki. Level: 1. Titles: Orphan, Prankster, Knucklehead. HP: 100 100ths. CP: Chakra: 250 250ths. Skills: Henge no Jutsu, LV3. Bunshin no Jutsu, LV2. Sexy Jutsu, LV2. He barked out a shocked laugh. Wait, it's calling me a knucklehead. That stung his pride a bit, but curiosity quickly overwhelmed the insult. Another tab caught his eye. Cheat codes locked. That is interesting, he murmured, tapping it. Nothing happened. A locked symbol glowed, refusing to budge. Figures, he muttered. It's never easy. Still, the fact something like that existed made him grin with anticipation. He felt a surge of energy, a sense that life had just flipped upside down. Sure, he still had the dreaded graduation exam today. But maybe, just maybe, this weird gamer thing would help him pass. His day felt a lot brighter all of a sudden. He hurriedly got dressed in his usual orange jumpsuit, ignoring the faint dryness in his mouth and the swirl of anxious energy in his chest. The system's existence pushed away most of his doubts. Bursting out of his apartment, he dashed toward the academy, ready to face whatever came next. At the academy courtyard, groups of kids milled about, some reviewing notes, others roughhousing in the practice yard. Naruto spotted Kiba, Shikamaru, and Ino bickering in one corner. Sakura was off near the entrance, arms crossed, scanning the crowd impatiently. Sasuke Uchiha, cool as ice, leaned against a wall, looking like he couldn't be bothered with anyone or anything. The second Naruto set foot in the courtyard, people shot him glances that ranged from amused smirks to irritated scowls. He was used to that. After all, he was the so-called demon brat. Even if most kids his age didn't fully understand why their parents told them to avoid him. But today, he had something new. He had the gamer system. And that alone set his heart pounding with confidence. He made a beeline for Sakura. As was tradition, half the time, she brushed him off, but occasionally, he loved the banter. "Sakura-chan," he called, forcing a grin. She rolled her eyes, looked over, and sighed. "Naruto, you better not be trying to annoy me before the exam," she warned, voice a little too formal for a 12-year-old. Then she turned away, clearly uninterested in a chat. Normally, that would deflate him. But a soft chime in his head startled him. New sub-quest. Impress Sakura Haruno. Reward. +5 affection with Sakura. Huh. Naruto blinked at the floating text. Impress her. How? For a split second, a wave of possibilities flooded his mind, pulling an outrageous prank, or maybe something cooler like showing off a new jutsu. But none of that had worked before. He shrugged to himself. I'll figure that out later, he mumbled. Then, taking a deep breath, he marched toward the academy doors. Maybe if he graduated and looked awesome doing it, that'd be a good start. In the hallway, he ran smack into Hinata Hyuga. She dropped her books with a quiet squeak. Her pale eyes flew open in surprise, cheeks staining red as soon as she recognized him. "Oh, Naruto-kun," she managed, bending down to grab her fallen papers. He knelt to help her. "Sorry, Hinata, I wasn't paying attention." He felt a twinge of guilt. She was one of the few who never looked at him with contempt. Always so shy, always so gentle. "It's okay. Good luck on the exam," she whispered, voice trailing. Again, the system dinged. Hinata Hyuga affection +1. Naruto nearly burst out laughing at the floating bubble of text. So this system tracked relationships, too. It was weird, but helpful. He realized she was still there, blinking at him with confusion. He gave her a big grin. "Don't worry, 'cause I'm gonna ace it today." He helped gather the last few papers, then flashed her a thumbs up. Hinata nodded quickly, that adorable blush never leaving her face, and hurried off. He scratched his head, half exasperated, half entertained. "Well, she's cute," he muttered, though it felt strange admitting that out loud. If the system was real, maybe he could actually gather enough courage to talk to her more. He was a bit of a playboy at heart, though he wouldn't dare say that in front of Sakura. As Naruto headed toward the classroom, he noticed an odd new icon blinking at the edge of his vision. A simple cheat code prompt. He couldn't open the cheat code menu before, but this looked slightly different. He attempted to focus on it. Cheat code input. Enter code. He had no idea what to type. "Ramen," he joked under his breath. Nothing happened. "Figures," he mumbled, feeling a flicker of disappointment. Maybe he'd figure out the cheat codes later. For now, there was an exam to pass. Academy classroom. Iruka Yumino stood at the front of the class, eyes scanning the rows of nervous students. Beside him, Mizuki offered a polite, almost too kind smile. Naruto took his usual seat at the back, ignoring the condescending stares from a few classmates. He was too excited to care. Iruka cleared his throat. "All right, everyone. This is your last chance to demonstrate the Bunshin no Jutsu. Pass, and you become Genin of the Hidden Leaf. Fail, and, well, there's always next year." He shot Naruto a specifically worried glance. Usually, that look would make Naruto's stomach churn. But now, the gamer interface whispered in his ear. "Bunshin no Jutsu, LV2. Express needed to next level, 50. Confident, Naruto hopped to his feet. "Iruka-sensei, lemme go first." The entire class snickered. Sasuke sneered. Sakura frowned as though anticipating a train wreck. Iruka looked surprised. Sure, Naruto. Come on down." Mizuki smirked, leaning back. Naruto caught the disdain in the man's eyes, which fueled his determination. He marched to the front and formed the hand seals. This time, instead of feeling dread, he visualized the swirling lines of chakra like a video game resource bar. He watched the CP on his status screen tick down as he molded chakra. That alone gave him the perfect measure of how much he should use. He exhaled, and a second Naruto popped into existence. Then a third, then a fourth. Soon, an entire row of perfect clones lined up behind him. The class gasped, jaws dropping. Iruka blinked. "Naruto, that's enough. You've passed." Squeals of shock rippled around the room. Kiba's eyes nearly bulged out. "How'd that dope manage that?" he hissed under his breath. Sasuke narrowed his gaze like he smelled something off. And Sakura, despite herself, let out a quiet squeak of amazement. Naruto grinned ear to ear. "Ha, told you I'd do it, Iruka-sensei." Iruka coughed to hide a grin. "Yes, well done. Headband is yours." The moment Naruto tied the Konoha forehead protector around his brow, A new screen appeared. Quest complete. Graduate from the Academy. Reward. Plus 500 XP, 100 Ryo, skill book. A faint glow enveloped him for a second, and he felt a rush of energy. It was exhilarating. He saw a prompt that his level rose to 2. The notion of leveling up in real life was almost too wild to believe. But here he was, living it. He half glanced at his classmates, noting the shock still plastered on their faces. A wave of pride surged through him. For once, he wasn't the dead last. And from the corner of his eye, he caught Hinata's glowing smile. She looked genuinely happy for him. He liked that. Evening at Ichiraku Ramen. After the day's triumph, Naruto treated himself to a massive bowl of miso ramen, courtesy of Chuki and Ayame. The mouthwatering aroma teased his senses. Between slurps, his mind buzzed with the reality of this so-called gamer system. Graduating was the first big step. But the system mentioned cheat codes too. If he could figure those out. He pulled up the interface again. Flipping through the tabs, a new icon was there. Inventory. He tapped it mentally, and a small list of items appeared. One was labeled, Skill Book, unused. Hard hammering, he selected it. Use Skill Book, he confirmed, and a glowing swirl of light danced around his hand. Suddenly, a new skill popped up. Unlocked. Chakra Affinity Wind Passive. Effect. Wind-based jutsu plus 20% power. He blinked. A wide grin spread across his face. Wind, huh, that's pretty sweet. He was no fool. Even though he often acted like one, he knew wind-type chakra was fairly rare in the Leaf Village. Most shinobi had fire or lightning. This gave him an advantage. Glee bubbled in his chest. Hey, Naruto, Ayame piped up from behind the counter. She leaned in a bit, a curious smile on her face. You're glowing today, huh? Everything go well at the academy? He grinned back, not minding the subtle warmth in her gaze. She was older, sure, but that never stopped him from a bit of playful banter. Yup, I'm a genin now, and pretty soon everyone's gonna recognize me as the future Hokage. His eyes flicked to her hair, noticing how it framed her face. He wasn't sure if it was the new wave of confidence from the system or what, but he actually found himself leaning toward her, voice dropping. You should keep an eye on me, Ayame Nichan. I'm going places. Her cheeks tinted pink as she giggled. She playfully poked his forehead. I'm already proud of you, Naruto. He felt a sudden urge to say something more flirty, but a group of customers stepped in, diverting her attention. The moment passed, leaving him with a flutter in his gut that felt suspiciously like attraction. Huh, since when was he so forward? A system prompt chimed. Ayame affection +1. He coughed into his ramen, hoping nobody else could see that screen. This system was going to complicate his life, but maybe in a fun way. Night at the Hokage Monument. After leaving Ichiraku, Naruto found himself drawn to the colossal stone faces of past Hokage. He often came here to reflect or occasionally defile them with paint. Tonight, he only wanted the quiet. High above the village, the wind rushed over him, ruffling his hair. He let out a breath, gazing down at the twinkling lights of his home. Someday, he murmured, I'll have my own face up here. He felt a pang of the old loneliness. Sure, he was strong now, maybe beyond strong, if he mastered this gamer system. But the curiosity of why no one else had this power gnawed at him. Why him? A half-lost memory of the villagers calling him demon churned in his thoughts. Tugging his headband tighter, he accessed the system screens again, rummaging through icons until he found something labeled, Daily Quests. It was still locked, but below it was a strange symbol. Cheat code. Kyubi key, unlocked. A small tooltip read. Allows partial access to Nine Tails chakra at will. Expends mental energy. Overuse can lead to hostility. Naruto's eyes widened. So that's how I can tap into that fox's chakra. He knew about the demon sealed inside him, but never had full control. A spike of fear flickered. He remembered the times he'd lost control before, though they were often half-remembered nightmares. Still, the potential to harness the fox's power at will was too huge to ignore. He clenched his fists, half-thrilled, half-anxious. I have to be careful, he told himself. This cheat code might make me unstoppable, or it could make me a monster. Lightning cracked across the sky. A sudden drizzle pelted his cheeks. Naruto was about to head home when he sensed someone's presence. He turned swiftly, adrenaline pumping. Who's there? Out of the shadows stepped Mizuki, wearing a thin smile. The silver-haired Chunin seemed a little too friendly. Congratulations on passing, Naruto, he said smoothly. I always knew you had talent. Naruto felt the hair on his neck stand on end. Despite the praise, something was off. Not one day ago, Ms. Uki practically seethed with loathing for him. Why the change? Thanks, Naruto replied, uncharacteristically cautious. Mizuki stepped closer, voice dropping to a hush. Listen, I know you've always been hungry for recognition. And now that you've passed, maybe you'd like to learn a special technique. One that could catapult you straight to greatness. A flicker of a system prompt caught Naruto's eye. Warning. Intense hostility detected. So his instincts were right. Mizuki was up to something. Naruto decided to play along. A special technique, he echoed, feigning interest. Sounds cool. Mizuki's grin widened. But we need the scroll of seals for that. It's hidden in the Hokage's mansion. If you can sneak in and get it, I'll teach you something that even Jonin can't handle. Naruto's mind whirled. Scroll of seals. He vaguely remembered Iruka talking about it filled with forbidden jutsu, stuff that was off limits for a reason. Mizuki's request screamed, trap. He felt the weight a new quest forming in his system interface. New quest. Retrieve the scroll of seals optional. Objective. Obtain the scroll Mizuki desires. Reward. Warning. Risk is extremely high. Naruto frowned. He'd just become a genin. Was he really about to do something so reckless? But the system claimed it was optional and he really wanted to see what was inside that scroll. Maybe it held powerful jutsu that could help him protect the village, or at least prove himself even more. Besides, he'd be lying if he said curiosity wasn't burning him up inside. He crossed his arms, forcing a casual tone. All right, I'll think about it. Mizuki's eyes flickered with eagerness. Good. Meet me in the forest clearing on the outskirts, near midnight. That's when we'll do it. Naruto nodded slowly, letting the man fade back into the darkness. Only when Mizuki's footsteps disappeared did Naruto exhale, tension flooding from his shoulders. That system warning about hostility kept echoing in his mind. He made a mental note to be on guard. Maybe he could glean more from this scenario than Mizuki intended. He left the monument behind, mind churning with possibilities. If the system could warn him of hostility, maybe it could help him read deeper into people's intentions. That advantage alone would be huge. With his new power, he didn't feel fear, he felt a thrilling surge of confidence. But a spur of caution reminded him not to do something that'd break Iruka's trust. He wasn't a fool. He couldn't just barge in unprepared. Midnight near the Hokage residence. Thunder rumbled above, and the rain intensified. Hood pulled up over his spiky hair. Naruto crouched in the shadows beneath the eaves of a building across from the Hokage mansion. Two Anbu operatives stood guard at the compound gates, masked and silent. Not the easiest place to break into, but his new skill set gave him hope. He pressed himself flat against the building and murmured, "Gamer's body," half expecting something to happen. A small icon appeared. Gamer's body passive, immune to sleep status, drastically reduces physical fatigue. He grinned, feeling a slight rush. At least he wouldn't tire easily. Now, for infiltration, he tried the transformation jutsu, layering it with a mental focus. The system showed Henge no Jutsu, LV3. He poured in just the right amount of chakra, guided by the visual gauge in his peripheral vision. With a quiet puff of smoke, his body shifted into the shape of a nondescript, masked shinobi. Then he took a running leap, bounding up the side of the mansion with swift, practiced steps. The rain was an annoyance, but it also masked his footsteps. An upstairs window, slightly ajar, beckoned. He slipped through, scanning the corridor. Another system prompt. Stealth skill, LV1. You are now in stealth mode. Movement is quieter, detection chances lowered. Naruto marveled at it. He inched through the hall with near-silent footsteps, listening for any sign of guards. Occasionally, he spotted patrolling Anbu. But with his improved stealth, he skirted around corners and behind statues. His heart hammered with excitement. This was insane. Yet he felt like a shinobi out of a legend. Eventually, he found the large chamber where the scroll of seals was kept just like Mizuki had said. The door was locked with a heavy seal that flickered with faint chakra patterns. Naruto paused. If he triggered the alarm, it was game over. He tapped into the system. Analyzing. Fuinjutsu lock. Rank B. Chance of success with your current skill, 20%. Naruto cursed under his breath. That was low, but he had one more idea. He'd scrolled through his skill list earlier and noticed a new addition. Shadow Clone Jutsu, LV0, locked. That was the forbidden technique he'd read about once. If he used he skill books leveling or maybe the leftover quest reward. Wait, there was a bag icon in his interface with 100 Ryo from the quest. Could he buy something from a shop? He tapped around until he found shop. Fuin Basic Manual, 50 Ryo. Kunai Pack, 20 Ryo. Skill Upgrade Minor, 100 Ryo. His eyes gleamed, heart pounding. Skill Upgrade, he spent the 100 Ryo. Purchase successful. Select a skill to upgrade. He chose Shadow Clone Jutsu without hesitation. A new notification. Shadow Clone Jutsu, LV3. He felt a surge of knowledge rush into his brain, like someone had poured the technique's mechanics straight into his synapses. Summoning every bit of caution, he formed the hand seals in the dimly lit corridor. A swirl of chakra parted from him, forming 4 shadow clones in a puff of smoke. They nodded at him, then huddled around the door's seal. Naruto directed them with mental instructions he barely understood himself, but the knowledge from the skill upgrade guided him. He and his clones each pressed a palm to the seal. With a united pulse of chakra, they carefully disrupted the pattern. The lock flickered and died. He let out a slow breath, dispelling the clones. That's it, he whispered, heart hammering. I actually did it. He pushed open the door and stepped in. On a simple pedestal lay a large scroll tied with thick rope. The Scroll of Seals, Power Incarnate. As he reached for it, a swirl of conflicting thoughts filled his mind. He wasn't stealing this for personal gain, was he? Maybe he'd just take a quick look, find out if there was a jutsu he could use to help the village, and put it back. Mizuki's plan was obviously shady, but knowledge was power. He carefully tucked the scroll under his arm. Another system prompt. Quest progress. Scroll obtained. Now exit without detection. Naruto nodded. Let's do this. With the same stealth, he retraced his steps. Only once did he nearly bump into an Anbu, but he slipped behind a column, breath held, as the masked figure passed. Heart pounding, he made it outside into the raging night storm. Now to see what Mizuki's really after. Forest clearing at midnight. Lightning flashed across the dense canopy. The wind howled, rattling branches. Naruto landed in the muddy clearing, scroll strapped to his back. Rain trickled down his face. He scanned the area, muscles coiled. He was ready for a fight, if it came to that. Sure enough, Mizuki stood there. Expression twisted in excitement. You actually did it, you fool. He snickered, stepping forward. Now hand over the scroll, Naruto. Naruto let out a dry chuckle. Not before you teach me that technique you promised. Mizuki's lips curled. Don't worry about that. Actually, I was hoping you'd be dumb enough to do the dirty work for me. Now I can just take it. Hostility spike detected. The system's alert nearly pulsed red. Naruto tensed. Sorry, Mizuki-sensei, he said, voice dropping lower, mocking the title. I'm not handing this over without answers. Why do you want it? Lightning illuminated Mizuki's hateful expression. Oh, you want the truth. Fine. He flung a giant Fuma shuriken from his back, brandishing it like a predator. Let me enlighten you. You're the 9-tailed demon fox in human form. The entire village hates your guts because of that. You're the monster that killed so many. That's why they'll never respect you, no matter what you do. Naruto froze. He already knew about the fox, but hearing Mizuki fling the words so viciously sent a jolt of anger and hurt through him. The storm battered against his senses, but inside, a fire lit. He clenched his fists, eyes narrowing. So that's your big reveal. He spat, forcing himself to remain calm. As if that's news to me. Mizuki faltered, clearly expecting a bigger reaction. What? Naruto rolled his shoulder, letting the tension flow into an easy smirk. I've known for a while I had this weird power inside me. And yeah, the villagers hate me. That's not a secret. But guess what? Rain dripped from his brow. I'm done letting that rule my life. Mizuki snarled. You little brat. He hurled the Fuma shuriken. Naruto's vision honed in on it, the system reading out its velocity like an overlay. Time seemed to slow. He flipped backward in a graceful arc, letting the massive blade whirl past him. It sliced through the trunk of a nearby tree, lodging there with a reverberating thunk. The system flashed. Dodge success. Speed +1. Naruto landed lightly, cracking his knuckles. My turn. He dashed forward with speed that startled Mizuki. Summoning a single shadow clone, he feinted to the left. The clone spun around, nailing Mizuki with a swift kick to the ribs. Mizuki coughed, staggering, but recovered quickly enough to slash at the clone. The clone poofed out of existence in a burst of smoke. Before Mizuki could blink, Naruto was behind him, hooking an arm around his neck. His voice rumbled with a new, dangerous confidence. You messed with the wrong kid. Mizuki struggled, forcing Naruto to leap back to avoid a slash of kunai. Blood pounded in Naruto's ears. He saw no fear in his reflection on the man's blade, only raw determination. Cheat code. Kyuubi ki, ready. A swirl of heat erupted in Naruto's gut. He had a choice. Use the fox's chakra or rely on his own skill. On one hand, he wanted to see how strong he'd become without tapping the demon's power. On the other, he felt a yearning to flex every advantage. Ultimately, curiosity won out. He mentally activated the cheat code. A flood of red chakra bubbled around him. His pupils slit. The air crackled as a menacing aura draped his frame. Mizuki's eyes widened in horror. What is that? Naruto answered by vanishing in a burst of speed. He slammed a fist into Mizuki's gut, launching the Chunin backward through the muddy clearing. Trees splintered as Mizuki tumbled. A savage grin tugged at Naruto's lips. This power was incredible. He still felt in control, but the anger simmering in his chest was sharper, more potent. Mizuki coughed up blood, staggering to stand. You, demon. Naruto approached, the swirling chakra cloak snapping like a living beast around him. Maybe I am, he said softly. Then he clenched his fist, forcing the demonic aura to recede. He'd proven his point. He wanted Mizuki conscious for what came next. Almost on cue, another figure burst into the clearing. Naruto. What's going on here? Iruka landed, breathless, eyes flicking between Mizuki's battered form and Naruto's swirling chakra. Naruto's heart clenched. Iruka-sensei was probably about to see something monstrous. But to his relief, Iruka's expression was more worried than disgusted. Naruto let the red chakra dissipate fully. Mizuki snarled, wiping blood from his lip. Iruka, this brat's stolen the scroll of seals. Help me subdue him. Iruka didn't move. He gave Naruto a searching look. Naruto. Naruto's jaw tightened. Mizuki tricked me. He wanted me to steal this scroll for him. But I've got it under control. For a tense moment, Iruka said nothing. Then he nodded, slowly, turning to glare at Mizuki. I see. You always were too ambitious for your own good, Mizuki. Mizuki tried to rush Iruka, but Naruto stepped in, delivering a roundhouse to Mizuki's temple. The man crumpled into the mud, out cold. Naruto stared down at the unconscious figure. He felt no pity, just a hollow satisfaction that the immediate threat was over. A crack of thunder rolled through the clearing. Iruka exhaled. You've done enough, Naruto. The Hokage will hear about this, but I don't think you'll be in trouble. His gaze lingered on the swirling afterimage of red chakra around Naruto. That power. You used the fox's chakra, didn't you? Naruto swallowed, bracing himself. Yeah, I can control it, a little. Don't freak out. Iruka's face softened. He didn't recoil in fear. Instead, he placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. I won't. Listen. You protected the scroll. You stopped Mizuki. You're a hero tonight, Naruto. Let's get this back to the third Hokage and figure out the rest. Naruto's breath caught in his throat. The word, hero, echoed in his mind. He realized Iruka was serious. He genuinely meant it. The swirl of the gamer's interface faded to the background, overshadowed by the warmth in his chest. He nodded. Right. Later, in the Hokage's office, the third Hokage listened intently as Iruka explained the events. Naruto stood awkwardly off to the side, clutching the massive scroll of seals. He kept his gaze on the floor, not quite sure what to expect. But Hiruzen Sarutobi wore a gentle smile. "I see," the Hokage murmured. "Well done, Naruto. Though your methods were unorthodox, you've protected an important village secret. I'm proud of your quick thinking." He glanced at Iruka. "You said you saw him use the Nine Tails chakra." Iruka nodded. "Yes, Lord Hokage." But he maintained control. Sarutobi's expression turned contemplative. "Remarkable. Naruto, come see me tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about this. For now, get some rest." Naruto let out a shaky sigh of relief. That was easier than he expected. "Thank you, old man." The Hokage chuckled at the nickname. "Go on, then, and be careful out there. The future holds many unknowns for you." As Naruto and Iruka turned to leave, the Hokage's eyes lingered on Naruto's back, thoughtful and a bit wary. There was something in that gaze that said he understood more than Naruto realized. Naruto's paused, alone in his apartment. "I can't sleep. I'm lying on my old mattress, staring at the flickering overhead bulb. Rain taps against the window. My body's humming with leftover adrenaline, and my mind's buzzing with the new power I've tasted. The gamer system changed my life in a single day. What's tomorrow going to look like?" I keep flipping through the interface, checking my stats. Naruto Uzumaki, level 3. HP, 300 300ths. CP, 800 800ths. My chakra capacity skyrocketed. That must be thanks to the Fox chakra and leveling up. I check my skills. Shadow Clone Jutsu, LV3. Chakra Affinity, Wind Passive. Cheat Code, Kyuubi Key. The system is brimming with potential. My head spins with the realization that I'm practically rewriting the Shinobi rulebook. A grin tugs at my lips. I might finally become Hokage. Scratch that, I'm going to become Hokage, and no one can stop me. But a flicker of doubt gnaws at me. Today was close. What if I lost control of the Nine Tails? What if the village sees me as a threat? The power feels addictive, like I could become unstoppable, but also inhuman. I run a hand through my messy hair, frustration building. I don't want to be alone again. For a second, I picture Hinata's worried expression, Ayame's warm smile, and even Sakura's quick scowl. I want them to see me, to be around me. Maybe I'm greedy, but I like the thought of having them all gravitate my way. That sly feeling rises, like I could have more than just one person in my corner. The harem idea that's always floated in my daydreams. I chuckle wryly, then force myself to calm down. One step at a time. I'll figure out who I am with this new power. And maybe, just maybe, I'll open my heart to more than one girl. If the system tracks affection, then I'll let it. I won't hold back. Life's too short to be shy. I roll onto my side, gazing at the swirling shadows on the ceiling. Another system prompt flickers. Main quest. Become Hokage. Progress. 1%. A quiet laugh slips out of me. Only 1%. Guess I have a long road ahead. But for once, I feel excited about it. I close my eyes, letting the sound of rain lull me. Whatever tomorrow brings, team assignments. The Hokage's questions, new enemies, I'm ready. Because this time, I have a system that can make me a god among shinobi. And that's exactly what I plan to become. Meanwhile, unknown location. A hooded figure sits in a dimly lit chamber, ancient symbols dancing across the walls. The figure stares into a basin of shimmering water. Within, Naruto's image flickers, clutching the scroll of seals. Nine Tails chakra swirling around him. So, the subject has awakened the system, the figure rasps, voice echoing ominously. Let the trial begin. The reflection ripples, show. Wing a fleeting image of a monstrous shape with white eyes and swirling black patterns. A silent threat, for now. But soon enough, it would come for the boy. The hooded figure lifts a hand, weaving strange signs. Let's see if you're worthy of the cheat codes, Naruto Uzumaki, or if you'll destroy yourself first. Lightning arcs in the distance, and the vision fades, leaving the chamber in silent darkness. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Shadow of the Gods. A crisp morning sun stretched over the hidden leaf, gilding rooftops and warming puddles left behind by last night's storm. Naruto woke before dawn, startled from a dream about robed figures whispering his name. His new gamer system flickered before his eyes the moment he stirred, displaying stats and alerts like an overeager guide. He shoo off the uneasy feeling and splashed his face with cold water. Today was team assignment day, and for once, he actually felt prepared. At the academy, the freshly graduated genin gathered in rows within the old classroom. Their chatter filled the space with buzz and excitement. Naruto noticed the difference immediately. Fewer sneers, fewer mocking looks. Word had spread that Naruto not only passed but apparently did something heroic involving the Forbidden Scroll. He caught glimpses of awe in some kids' eyes, though many tried to hide it. He leaned back in his seat, arms folded behind his head. "Man, I wish they'd hurry up and tell us our teams," he muttered. His mind wandered to his gamer interface. He hadn't discovered new cheat codes yet, but the leveling process had already boosted his stats. He felt the difference every time he moved live, strong, brimming with energy. "Hey," came a voice beside him. He glanced over, meeting the serious gaze of Shikamaru Nara. "Heard you stole the Scroll of Seals. Did you really pick up a new jutsu from it or something?" Naruto forced a grin. Maybe. He didn't want to reveal everything. Shikamaru was clever. Best to keep answers vague. In front of them, Sakura turned around in her seat. She eyed Naruto like she was still trying to figure out the sudden leap in his skills. "Hey, Naruto, Iruka-sensei told me you did something crazy." "Did you seriously fight a traitorous Chunin on your own?" "Yup," he replied with casual confidence. "Kicked his butt, too." Sakura's lips parted, an incredulous look flitting over her face. Well, I guess I should say good job." She stumbled over the compliment, clearly unsettled by this new side of him. Naruto felt a flash of satisfaction. In the past, he would have leapt for joy at Sakura praising him in any way. Now, with the gamer system feeding him insights into his potential, it was more like a nice bonus. He shrugged, letting a sly grin tilt his lips. "Better get used to it. I'm full of surprises." Her eyes narrowed a bit, as though uncertain whether to be annoyed or impressed. Then she turned around with a huff. From across the room, Sasuke Uchiha watched the exchange in silence. Naruto sensed a simmering frustration in the dark-haired boy's gaze. Sasuke was used to being the best in class, the only genius around. Suddenly, Naruto wasn't so easy to dismiss. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, Sasuke's stony curiosity was palpable before he looked away. Iruka soon arrived, quieting the chatter. He began announcing teams. Team 7. Sakura Haruno. Sakura perked up in her seat. Sasuke Uchiha. A few girls groaned at not being placed with the village heartthrob. And Naruto Uzumaki. Instantly, the room buzzed with shock. Typically, Naruto was the lowest ranked in class, while Sasuke was at the top. Now they were on the same team. A hush fell, waiting for a dramatic outburst. But Naruto simply smirked to himself. He'd known about the pairing from overhearing rumors. It made sense, in a twisted way, to balance the best with the worst. Except he wasn't the worst anymore. Iruka continued naming other teams, but Naruto barely listened. He drummed his fingers on the desk, excitement coiling in his gut. If Team 7 was going to be his stepping stone to bigger missions, then so be it. When class let out, they were instructed to wait in the classroom until their new Junin sensei arrived. Naruto noted that Team 8 included Hinata, Kiba, and Shino, and Team 10 had Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. Hinata caught his eye, offered a timid wave, and left with her group. He gave her a playful wink, just enough to make her blush furiously before turning back to his seat. Sasuke and Sakura moved closer, occupying the same row. Silence stretched between them. Sakura finally sighed. "Naruto, no screwing around today, okay? This is important." He let out a short laugh. "Relax, Sakura, I know how to handle myself." Sasuke scoffed under his breath. We'll see." The tension bristled, setting the tone for a complicated team dynamic. Naruto could practically feel Sasuke's pride clashing with his newfound confidence. Any other time, Naruto might have tried to avoid confrontation. Now, a part of him relished it. He felt unstoppable. He wanted to see how far Sasuke's so-called genius would hold up against the cheat codes hidden in his own soul. Late afternoon. Classroom standoff. Time dragged. The other Junin sensei had arrived hours ago to collect their teams, but Team 7 was left waiting. Sakura fidgeted with increasing impatience, while Sasuke stared out the window, arms folded. Naruto balanced a pencil on his fingertip, calmly checking the time display in his system. Patience wasn't his strong suit, but with the gamer's overlay, he could at least amuse himself by playing with random interface features. Finally, the door slid open. A man with gravity-defying silver hair and a mask covering half his face stepped in. "Yo," he greeted, single visible eye curving in what might be a smile. "My first impression of you three is that you're all pretty weird." Sakura bristled. "You're late." Naruto, on the other hand, arched an eyebrow. "So you're our Junin sensei." "Name's Kakashi Hatake," the man said languidly. "Let's step out for introductions, shall we?" Rooftop introductions. Kakashi led them to the rooftop of the academy. The late-day sunlight cast long shadows across the village, giving the scene a lazy glow. He had them sit on the steps while he perched on the railing, hands in his pockets. "All right, how about you kids introduce yourselves?" Kakashi suggested, voice lazy. "Likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, that kind of thing." Sakura blinked. "Well, sensei, why don't you go first?" Kakashi eyed her. "Me, my name's Kakashi Hatake. I have plenty of likes, but I don't feel like sharing them. As for dislikes, also not sharing. Dreams for the future, never really thought about it." "Okay, next." Sakura groaned. "That's not helpful at all." Still, she complied. "My name is Sakura Haruno. I like certain things." She shot a glance at Sasuke and blushed. "My dislikes are Ino Pig and people who act like idiots." Her eyes flicked pointedly at Naruto. "My dream is..." She trailed off, cheeks burning. Clearly something about Sasuke hovered in her mind. "Anyway, that's it," she finished lamely. Sasuke was next. "Sasuke Uchiha. There are a lot of things I dislike, and not many I like. My ambition isn't a dream, it's a reality. I'm going to restore my clan and kill a certain man." He stared off into the distance, voice dark. Naruto watched him with a subdued curiosity. He already knew about Sasuke's tragic backstory, but that vow of vengeance hung heavier now that Naruto had the power to overshadow Sasuke. Would that intensify Sasuke's rage, or push him to get stronger? Kakashi nodded, turning to Naruto. "All right, you're up." Naruto took a breath, remembering his days of hyperactive chatter. But he was different now, sharper, more self-assured. "The name's Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, especially at Ichiraku. I dislike traitors and people who think I can't do something. My dream is to become Hokage, and to protect the people precious to me. No matter what, and I guess there's more, but for now, that's enough." Kakashi raised a brow. "Interesting. Well, we'll see how you hold up tomorrow. We're going to do a survival exercise. It's not as straightforward as you think, so don't eat breakfast or you'll puke." "Survival exercise?" Sakura asked, confused. "But we already did plenty of training at the academy." Kakashi's single visible eye curved in amusement. "Oh, trust me, this is nothing like what you did in class. Also, out of all the Genin graduates, 2/3 will be sent back to the academy." Sakura's jaw dropped. "Wait, what? So we aren't guaranteed to stay Genin?" Kakashi stood, brushing imaginary dust from his pants. "Nope. Meet me at training ground 3 at 5 a.m., got it?" Without waiting for answers, he vanished in a swirl of leaves, leaving the trio in stunned silence. Evening in the village. They parted ways. Sakura marched off, muttering about needing to restudy basic survival tactics. Sasuke gave Naruto a cold nod and strode away. Naruto shrugged, hands in his pockets, and headed toward the more bustling part of the village to quell his rumbling stomach. Akashi's warning about skipping breakfast. He'd consider it a suggestion rather than a rule. While weaving through the crowd, the system pinged in his peripheral vision. New quest. Pass Kakashi's survival test. Objective. Obtain a bell. Reward. Plus 1000 XP. Failure. Return to academy. He smirked. No way I'm failing. Time to get ready. Before he could decide on dinner, a familiar voice called out, "Naruto-kun." He turned to see Hinata hurrying up, accompanied by Kurenai, her new sensei. Behind them, Kiba and Shino observed quietly. "Hey, Hinata," Naruto said, adopting an easy grin. "What's up?" Hinata blushed faintly, her pale eyes darting away in that usual shy manner. I just wanted to say congratulations on making Genin. And good luck on tomorrow's test." Naruto gave a casual shrug. "Thanks. You too." Team 8 got a tough sensei. He offered Kurenai a polite nod, noticing how the older Kunoichi's scarlet eyes studied him with curiosity. "I've heard interesting things about you," Kurenai said softly, crossing her arms. "I look forward to seeing how you develop." Naruto only smiled. He detected no hostility from her, just a keen interest. "Maybe we'll have some joint training sometime." Kurenai inclined her head, leading Hinata and the others away. Hinata glanced back with a small wave, and Naruto shot her a playful wink. A system prompt flickered. "Hinata Hyuga affection +2. He smothered a chuckle, mind drifting to how sweet she was. But for now, his biggest priority was tomorrow. If Kakashi's exercise was anything like what he'd heard, it'd be brutal. Then again, Naruto had cheat codes. Night in Naruto's apartment. Naruto rolled out a scroll across his cluttered floor. After that fiasco with Mizuki, the third Hokage had quietly allowed him to copy a single technique from the Scroll of Seals as a kind of reward. He chose the multi-shadow clone jutsu because the system had flagged it as an advanced version of his normal clones and he already had it at level 3. Now, with the place lit by a single lamp, he willed open his skill menu. The ability stared back at him. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, LV3. Can create multiple real clones. Cost: moderate to high chakra. He considered leveling it further. If he had enough Ryo or some leftover skill points, he could push it. But his current resources were limited. He needed to do more quests for rewards. Then a new tab caught his eye. Cheat codes unlocked. Kyuubi key. Remaining codes. The Kyuubi key had been useful in subduing Mizuki, but Naruto had felt that addictive surge of raw power. He recalled the savage look on Mizuki's face, the fear. Maybe he needed to be cautious about spamming that ability. The last thing he wanted was to rely too heavily on the fox's chakra. He rubbed his hands over his face, shutting the interface. "I'll save it for emergencies," he muttered to himself. That decided, he lay back on the bed, arms folded behind his head. A swirl of excitement battled with unease. The day had been easy enough. But he sensed that the real test was coming fast. Eventually, sleep claimed him. Early morning. Training ground 3. The next day broke gray and chilly, the sun peeking through muted clouds. Naruto arrived at the training field at 4:45 a.m., ignoring Kakashi's warning about breakfast. He'd wolfed down a cup of instant ramen at least. The wide, open clearing was bordered by tall trees and dotted with wooden stumps. A small stream gurgled nearby. Sasuke was already there, leaning against a tree. He glanced over at Naruto but said nothing. Sakura showed up moments later, yawning and complaining about how early it was. By 5:15, Kakashi was still nowhere to be seen. Sakura tossed her hands up in exasperation. "He told us not to be late, and he's the one late again." Naruto snorted. "Typical. Maybe he's lost on the path of life." Sasuke rolled his eyes, but a ghost of a smirk tugged his lips. Finally, at 6 a.m. a full hour past the agreed time, Kakashi strode into the clearing, casual as ever. "Yo, sorry, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way." Sakura nearly exploded. "Stop making these ridiculous excuses." Kakashi gave a half-lidded stare. "Anyway, here we are." He pulled out an alarm clock, placing it on a stump. "Set for noon. You have until then to take these bells from me." He held up 2 tiny bells, tied with thin cords. "An yon who doesn't get a bell goes without lunch and fails the test." "Wait," Sakura said, "there are only 2 bells. But there are 3 of us." Kakashi nodded. "Exactly. That means at least one of you will definitely fail and return to the academy. So, come at me with the intent to kill or you won't stand a chance." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Sakura looked alarmed. Naruto just shot a cocky grin. E-system was already popping up a quest notice. Quest updated. Obtain a bell. Try not to lose to your teammates in the process. He chuckled under his breath. This was going to be interesting. The test begins. Start, Kakashi announced, and all three genin scattered. Sakura and Sasuke took to the trees, searching for vantage points, while Naruto slipped behind a cluster of bushes. He was about to consider forming a plan with the others but realized neither Sasuke nor Sakura suggested teamwork. The canon told him that teamwork was the key, but part of him was itching to see how far he could get on his own. He tapped the interface. Shadow Clone Jutsu, LV3. Cost: 50 CP per clone. His total chakra pool was now well over 800. He summoned 5 clones, enough to swarm Kakashi without risking a huge drain. They nodded in silent unison, then darted from the bushes in a pincer formation. As they charged, Kakashi lifted his orange book, eyes barely glancing up. Ah, a frontal assault, typical. Naruto smirked. Oh, you have no idea. The clones attacked with a coordinated barrage of kicks and punches. Kakashi weaved between them effortlessly, never taking his eye off the page. He twisted, deflecting one clone with a forearm, then lashed out a quick strike that dispersed another in a puff of smoke. Naruto observed from the rear, analyzing the Junin's speed in real time. The system highlighted Kakashi's movements in faint lines, giving Naruto a partial read on where the man might move next. It was still too fast to track perfectly. Kakashi was a seasoned elite, and Naruto's system, while powerful, didn't automatically make him omniscient. But it helped. He saw an opening and dashed in low, feinting with a sweeping kick. Kakashi hopped over it, eyes still on the book. Nice try, Kakashi murmured, bringing a knee up to Naruto's ribs. Naruto smirked. Right back at you. He flicked a hand sign. Futon. Gale Palm. A sudden burst of wind exploded outward, only a fraction of the jutsu's full strength. Kakashi's eyes widened as the gust knocked him off balance midair. He landed on his feet but slid back a few yards, his book flipping out of his hand. The Junin's posture shifted subtly, interest peaked. Wind release. Huh, Kakashi said, dropping into a more serious stance. They don't usually teach that at the academy. Naruto shrugged, letting the rest of his clones converge. Kakashi blurred, dispatching each in quick succession, but Naruto used the distraction to dart behind him. He could almost reach the bells dangling from Kakashi's belt. At the last instant, Kakashi pivoted, grabbing Naruto's wrist. Not bad, the Junin remarked, smiling beneath his mask, but not enough. He threw Naruto with a smooth judo motion, sending him flying into the bushes. Naruto tumbled but rolled upright, hardly fazed. His HP gauge had taken a small dip. He felt an excited grin stretch across his face. This was fun. He wanted more of a challenge, but he also remembered the point of the test. Hint. Cooperation recommended. The system gave a subtle prompt. Naruto exhaled, realizing Kakashi would be an even match for him if he fought one-on-one without unleashing heavier cheat codes. And perhaps that was the test to see if they'd work together. Temporary retreat. He found Sakura crouched behind a tree, heart pounding. She jumped when Naruto approached, but relaxed upon seeing him. You're not hurt, she whispered. I can't even follow Kakashi-sensei's moves with my eyes. Naruto nodded toward the direction of the clearing. We can't beat him alone. Where's Sasuke? Said something about going off on his own, Sakura grumbled. She wrung her hands. Maybe we should find him. Naruto paused, recalling the lessons from canon. The real objective of the test was teamwork. If Sasuke insisted on flying solo, they might all fail. Then again, Naruto's unstoppable arrogance wanted to do it himself and prove something. But he tamped that down. Yeah, we need him, he agreed, or else we're toast. They crept through the trees, searching for any sign of Sasuke. Eventually, they found him perched on a thick branch, eyes zeroed in on Kakashi from above. He looked ready to ambush the Junin with a fire-style jutsu. Naruto signaled with a wave, gesturing for Sasuke to come down. Sasuke gave him a dismissive glance but hopped off the branch, landing silently. What? He asked, voice low. Let's team up, Naruto said bluntly. We're supposed to be one squad, right? Sasuke scoffed, but something in his expression wavered. Maybe he was recalling the humiliating sense that Kakashi was far beyond them. Finally, he nodded. Fine, what's the plan? Naruto grinned, tapping his temple. All right, so here's what we'll do. Coordinated assault. Kakashi stood in the clearing, arms folded, waiting calmly. He glanced at the alarm clock. They're taking their time. I wonder if they... A sudden puff of smoke erupted from the edge of the clearing. 3 Narutos emerged, each brandishing kunai. Kakashi tensed, prepared to dodge. At the same moment, a hail of shuriken flew from the opposite side, Sasuke's handiwork. Kakashi deftly flicked out a kunai of his own, default, CTing shuriken midair with ringing metallic clangs. While Kakashi was occupied, Sakura rushed in behind him, aiming a tackle. Kakashi pivoted, but Sasuke darted from the treeline, landing a blazing ki. CK that Kakashi had to block with both arms. The shock reverberated, forcing Kakashi backward a step. Naruto seized the opportunity. One clone dashed straight at Kakashi's left side, while the real Naruto leapt from a bush on the right. Swirling wind chakra around his fist. Kakashi's attention split for a split second, a second that Naruto exploited. He lunged, hand snapping toward the bells. At the last instant, Kakashi vanished in a swirl of leaves, reappearing behind them. Close, he remarked, voice carrying a new note of respect. You're actually working together. Sakura started forming hand seals, something basic. She launched a barrage of small illusions to distract him, illusions of additional Narutos rushing from every direction. Kakashi's practiced eye could likely see through it, but it still forced him to react. Meanwhile, Sasuke came in high with a quick sequence of taijutsu. Kakashi blocked each strike, but his posture was clearly more defensive now. Naruto sprang forward from behind Sasuke. Wind chakra surging around his palm. Wind style. Shredding current. He growled. The system had recommended this move after leveling up his wind affinity. A swirling vortex of slicing air erupted, forcing Kakashi to leap back. For a split second, the bells jingled close enough for Naruto to see the cords sway. His heart thundered. Another step, and he could rip them away. He lunged, pushing more chakra into the wind swirl. The swirling blades of air nearly clipped Kakashi's vest. But Kakashi twisted midair, tossing a smoke bomb at the ground. Gray plumes swallowed the clearing. Naruto coughed, the system's interface blinking in the haze. Visibility. Low. Use perception skill. YN. He mentally hit. Yes. The world sharpened slightly, outlines appearing in bright lines. Sasuke and Sakura were silhouettes to one side. Kakashi's figure was behind them, moving swiftly. Behind you, Naruto shouted. Sasuke spun, exchanging quick blows with Kakashi until the Junin pivoted away. Damn it, Sasuke growled, frustration coloring his voice. He's too fast. Naruto steadied his breathing. If we can't catch him, we corner him. Sakura, you and I will flank him with clones, force him into Sasuke's line of fire. Quote. Sakura nodded, summoning her nerve. She formed a hand seal, replicating a few illusions that looked like Naruto's, while the real Naruto created more shadow clones. Together, they surged at Kakashi from every angle, illusions and physical clones intermixed. Kakashi began to weave among them, but even he couldn't instantly spot which ones were real. Sasuke waited patiently for an opening. The illusions forced Kakashi's guard high, while the real Naruto dashed low. He almost managed to snatch the bells again, but Kakashi twisted away at the last second. Orked to abandon his usual grace for a clumsy roll. Sasuke saw his chance. Sasuke's hands flew through seals. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. A roaring sphere of flames shot forward, enveloping Kakashi's escape route. Kakashi skidded to a halt, turning to slip around the fire. But Naruto was there, a wild grin lighting his face. Gotcha. This time, he swiped his arm out. His fingertips brushed the cords of the bells, hooking onto one. Kakashi jerked away, but the cord snapped. A single bell flew free, landing in Naruto's palm. Sasuke's eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly tried to dash forward to snag the second bell. Kakashi recovered, flipping backward. Impressive, he breathed, taking the second bell in hand protectively. You actually managed to get one. Naruto tossed the bell up, catching it again. I only need one. Right. Sasuke's gaze narrowed, jealousy flashing on his face. Sakura sagged in relief, though she realized she was now the odd one out with no bell. Kakashi assessed them, the clock ticking ever closer to noon. Are we done? Naruto challenged, but he kept his guard up. Kakashi gave a resigned sigh. Let's see. Since you three demonstrated teamwork, I won't fail you yet. But usually, only two can pass, so how about we push a little further? He held the last bell out, practically taunting Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke grit his teeth, but something shifted in his expression. He lunged at Kakashi, weaving more shuriken. Kakashi easily parried, but Sasuke's final throw aimed for the rope holding the bell. Kakashi saw it coming, pivoted and left an opening behind him. Sakura dashed in, heart pounding, and slapped a kunai at the rope. Kakashi blocked her strike, but the rope partially split. The bell jingled, threatened to drop at any second. Kakashi tried to shift away, but Naruto's clone tackled him from behind. The rope snapped. The second bell tumbled into the grass, rolling near Sasuke's foot. He scooped it up, chest heaving. For a moment, no one moved, the adrenaline still pumping. Then Kakashi gave a slow clap, glancing at the timer. It read 11:59 a.m. Wow, Kakashi said, straightening his headband. I guess, you pass. Seriously, Sakura gasped, sweat trickling down her brow. Kakashi's mouth curved beneath the mask. Yes, because you all worked as a team in the end. Even though Naruto was hungry for a bell himself, he coordinated attacks that helped the rest of you. That's the whole point of this test, teamwork. As shinobi, you must rely on each other's strengths, or you'll fail every time. He snapped the alarm clock off a second before it rang. Good job, you three. From now on, you're officially Team 7, under my command. Despite the sweat and bruises, Naruto felt a thrill of triumph. Sasuke clutched his bell, expression guarded. Sakura had collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed by relief. Kakashi gave them one final, approving nod. All right, that's enough for today, he said. Meet at the mission assignment desk tomorrow morning. We'll start with some D-rank tasks to build synergy. Naruto stifled a laugh. He knew from canon how boring D-ranks could be, but at least they were official ninja work. Maybe the system had rewards for that, too. Afternoon. Riverside break. When Kakashi dismissed them, Sasuke vanished without a word, probably to brood or train. Sakura lingered for a moment, then sighed. I'm starving. I didn't even eat breakfast because of Kakashi-sensei's warning. She glanced at Naruto, half annoyed. You seem full of energy. Did you eat? Naruto chuckled. A little ramen never hurts, you know. He reached into his pouch, pulling out a protein bar. Want it? She hesitated, surprised by the gesture. Sure, thanks. A small flush of embarrassment crossed her features as she accepted it. For once, it was Naruto offering help instead of pestering her for attention. She gave him a quick nod. Guess you're not as clueless as I thought. He smirked. Don't let it get around. I have a reputation to maintain. She rolled her eyes but couldn't hide a tiny smile. After nibbling a piece of the bar, she waved goodbye. See you tomorrow. Naruto watched her go, then strolled along the river bordering the training ground. He felt good, like things were finally clicking in his life. A sense of raw possibility surged. He pulled up the system interface, checking his new quest rewards. Quest complete. Pass Kakashi's survival test. Rewards. Plus 1000 XP, plus 500 Ryo. A swirl of light erupted around him, invisible to anyone else. He felt a slight rush as his XP soared. A new prompt. Level up. Naruto Uzumaki. Level 4. HP. 400 400ths. CP. 1000. His grin widened. If this were a taste of the future, he was all for it. But then another prompt appeared. New item acquired. Summon shard mysterious. A strange shard that resonates with dimensional power. Naruto's brows knitted. Summon shard. Dimensional power. He tried to open it. A message read, locked until further storyline progression. He sighed. Figures. Still, curiosity burned. Another puzzle piece in this growing mystery. As he turned to leave, a faint presence brushed his senses. He glanced around, but saw only the rustle of leaves. The system didn't show any new hostility warnings, so maybe it was his imagination. But something about the hush in the air set him on edge. He shrugged it off and headed back toward the village. For now, he was too elated about leveling up to worry. Kakashi Hatake. High in a tree, Kakashi watched Naruto depart, thoughtful. That kid, He's not the same loudmouthed brat who could barely do a decent clone jutsu. The display of wind chakra, the cunning in his strikes, the speed at which he'd grown, it all hinted at something bigger. It's almost as if he's leveling up every time he fights, Kakashi mused with a wry half-smile. Ridiculous as it sounded, that was how it felt. He recalled the odd flicker of red chakra Naruto had shown the night Mizuki betrayed the village. The Kyuubi's power was a possibility. But there seemed to be more at work. Kakashi sighed. The future's looking interesting, he murmured, pulling out his trusty orange book. He gazed at the fading sunlight, a NSE of foreboding and anticipation stirring in his chest. Well, at least we won't be bored. Team 7's first official mission, the next day. To Naruto's dismay, their first mission was indeed a mundane D rank, catching the feisty cat Tora that belonged to the feudal lord's wife. By mid-morning, Team 7 had half the village scouring rooftops for the screeching feline. Naruto ended up cornering it with his clones, while Sakura gingerly picked it up, ignoring the cat's hissing and flailing claws. Sasuke brooded on the sidelines, obviously displeased with the trivial task. Kakashi offered no sympathy, reading from his book while they worked. When they returned the cat, the owner smothered it so aggressively that Naruto was sure Tora wanted to escape again. Even the Hokage's lips quirked in amusement. Mission accomplished, Kakashi announced with little fanfare, shutting his book. The third Hokage nodded. Well done, Team 7. We have more D-rank missions if you'd like. Sasuke cut in, voice harsh. Enough of this. We want a real mission. Something that actually challenges us. The Hokage exhaled, glancing at Kakashi. The Junin shrugged lightly. Naruto considered speaking up, but he felt a pang of caution. He knew pushing for tougher missions too soon could be tricky, but then again, the system thrived on conflict. Maybe a real mission would help him level faster. Sarutobi eyed the trio, then relented with a soft sigh. Very well, I have a C-rank mission that requires escorting a bridge builder named Tazuna back to his homeland, the Land of Waves. It should be relatively safe, though bandits might appear. Naruto's pulse quickened. This is it, the Wave mission. Things are about to get real. Tazuna, a grizzled old man with a sake bottle in hand, stepped forward. He looked them over and snorted. You're telling me these brats are my bodyguards? You sure they're up to it? Sakura bristled. Sasuke glared. Naruto smirked. Don't worry, old man. We're stronger than we look. The system window flickered. New quest. Escort Tazuna safely to Wave Country. Reward. 2000 Express. He felt that familiar excitement at the promise of new challenges. Kakashi snapped his book shut with finality. Pack your gear, Team 7. We leave tomorrow morning. Unknown location. Beyond the borders of the Land of Fire, in a dimly lit chamber, a hooded figure stared into a basin of swirling water. Naruto's face appeared, leveling up after retrieving a single bell from Kakashi. The robed silhouette pressed thin lips together, voice echoing in the darkness. His growth accelerates. Faster than I expected. A second figure, taller and wreathed in faint, eerie light, stepped forward. Will he be ready for the trial soon? He's already forging his own path, the first figure murmured, a hint of satisfaction coloring the tone. But we must push him further, see if he's truly worthy. The Land of Waves mission might be enough to awaken more of his potential, or break him. Either outcome serves us. A swirl of chakra distorted the reflection, shifting to show Tazuna and a pair of looming shapes in the mist. The first figure raised a hand over the basin. Show us your power, Naruto Uzumaki Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Gamer of Realities. The time of convergence draws near. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Fire and Chaos. Konoha's main gate stretched wide in the cool morning air, its towering wooden doors casting long shadows on the road. Team 7 Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke stood assembled beside Tazuna, the grizzled old bridge builder who kept an anxious grip on his half-empty sake bottle. Kakashi was there too, mask in place and one hand in his pocket, exuding the usual laid-back aura that somehow still held an undercurrent of lethal skill. Tazuna took a moment to eye up his escorts. He muttered, voice scratchy. Still can't believe you runts are supposed to protect me. Kakashi merely lifted a bored gaze. We're more capable than we look. Let's get going. Naruto grinned, a flicker of excitement in his eyes. Ever since they'd been assigned this C rank, he'd felt an electric buzz beneath his skin. The system icons lingering in the corner of his vision promised new growth, new adventures. Not that he needed the promise of XP to look forward to real action, but it sure didn't hurt. He glanced over his shoulder, half hoping he might spot Hinata or Ayame seeing him off. Even though neither had said they would. A pang of disappointment nudged him. He'd grown fond of both in different ways. Even Sakura, ever frosty with him, seemed less openly dismissive these days. But there was no time for that now. They had a mission to do, and for once, it was something beyond catching cats or weeding gardens. Kakashi gave a subtle nod. They set off, footsteps echoing on East dirt road that stretched beyond the village walls. A quiet stretch of road. Morning sunlight filtering through the leafy canopy created a dappled pattern along the path. Sakura walked near Tazuna, Sasuke stayed a few paces ahead, and Naruto brought up the rear, scanning for trouble. Kakashi moved in a relaxed manner, but Naruto caught the small details, the slight twitch of Kakashi's neck whenever the Junin heard a stray rustle. The way he'd angle his book to see reflections in the corners of the pages. Constant vigilance masked by casual airs. Naruto filed that away as a skill worth copying. Sakura let out a small sigh, breaking the silence. "Sensei, how far to the coast?" Tazuna replied, "We'll pass through a few smaller towns. 2 days, maybe 3, depending on whether you brought slow me down." Naruto rolled his eyes. "We'll be fine. Don't worry so much." They continued in comfortable stillness, the hush of nature occasionally broken by a distant bird call. Naruto used the lull-to check the system interface in his peripheral vision. Current quest: escort Tazuna to the land of waves. Reward: 2000 express. He tapped the corner with his mental focus, revealing no new cheat codes. Yet just the ominous note that something lay ahead. The system sometimes gave him subtle warnings, but right now, it was silent. That alone put him on edge. He glanced at Sasuke, noticing how the Uchih's eyes kept darting from tree to tree. Maybe Sasuke sensed something too. They passed a shallow puddle on the road, which was odd because they'd had no recent rain. Kakashi's gaze flicked over it, for the briefest moment before he shifted his eyes forward again. Naruto, picking up on his sensei's subtle tension, decided to keep walking without comment. But he silently readied his chakra, preparing a quick shadow clone jutsu if needed. Moments later, the puddle rippled unnaturally. 2 masked shinobi erupted from its surface in a violent spray of water, metal chains glinting. They lashed out with a savage ferocity. Sakura yelped, jumping back. Sasuke spun into a defensive crouch. Tazuna stumbled, eyes wide. Kakashi stepped forward, but in a startling display of speed, the chain wielding assailants coiled around Kakashi's torso and tore him apart. At least that's what it looked like. Blood spattered. "Kakashi-sensei!" Sakura screamed. Naruto's gut twisted, panic flaring. But then the system pinged. Alert! Genjutsu or substitution detected. He realized in that snap of a second that Kakashi's dismemberment was probably an illusion or a swift kawarimi. Relief soared through him just as the chain wielders rushed forward. "Now for the rest," hissed one, his metallic gauntlet bristling with blades. Naruto drew a kunai, adrenaline surging. This was no D-rank scuffle. These guys meant business. His shadow clones would be the best bet. He formed the seal, shadow clone jutsu. 2 clones popped into existence, intercepting the second attacker, while Naruto himself slashed upward at the first. The attacker deflected easily, steel scraping in a shriek of sparks. Sasuke flanked, hurling shuriken that forced the masked foe back a step. "Brat!" the man snarled, diverting to block the projectiles. Sakura hustled Tazuna to safety behind a tree, eyes wide with terror but maintaining enough clarity to protect their client. Naruto saw an opening. He whipped around, channeling a flicker of wind chakra. Wind release. Gale palm. A short burst of air slammed the nearest enemy sideways. The second attacker lunged in, swinging his chain overhead. Naruto ducked, letting the chain whistle above him. Sasuke capitalized with a vicious kick to the assailant's wrist. The chain flew from the attacker's grasp, hitting the ground with a metallic rattle. Before the attackers could regroup, Kakashi appeared from behind them very much alive. "You let your guard down," he said in a low tone. He pinned one with a kunai at the throat, eyes cold. You're the demon brothers of the hidden mist, aren't you? The pinned man froze. Naruto's clone seized the other one's arms, holding him fast. Within a minute, both were secured. Sakura breathed a shaky sigh of relief. I thought you were killed. Kakashi relaxed fractionally but kept his kunai at the attacker's jugular. A simple substitution jutsu, he explained. They tried to chain me, but I swapped out with a log the moment they made contact. Naruto scratched at the back of his head, adrenaline still spiking. Way to give us a heart attack, sensei. Kakashi didn't glance up. We'll talk about your reactions later. First, he pressed the blade closer. Why attack us? The masked ninja grimaced. No reason to talk. Gato pays well. You won't leave this country alive. Chizuna paled. Kakashi let out a quiet sigh, disarmed the attackers, and knocked them unconscious with a swift strike. Then he looked pointedly at Chizuna. You want to explain why ninja from the mist are after you? This mission was classified as C rank, yet these shinobi are clearly hired killers. That implies someone powerful is funding them. Chizuna avoided their eyes, wringing his hands on the sake bottle. I'm sorry, I lied about the difficulty. The truth is, a wealthy businessman named Gato has taken over our country's shipping routes. He wants me dead so I can't finish building a bridge that would free us from his monopoly. I couldn't afford a higher ranked mission. Sakura clenched her fists. You tricked us. We could have been killed. Naruto felt a stab of anger but also pity. He remembered how the villagers once despised him for the fox within. Chizuna's desperation to save his people didn't feel so different from Naruto's own desire to change how people saw him. Kakashi weighed the words, glancing at his team. We can choose to return to Konoha and request a re-evaluation, or we can continue this mission knowing it's actually at least B rank, maybe even A rank if ninjas like these are involved. Sasuke huffed. I say we keep going. Naruto nodded. Me too. He shot Chizuna a look. We'll help, but don't lie to us again. Chizuna bowed his head, relieved, tears gathering. Thank you. Kakashi observed his students, noting the fire in their eyes. All right, he agreed, sheathing his kunai. We proceed, but be on high alert. This is no longer a simple escort. Naruto watched as Kakashi bound the demon brothers securely to a tree, leaving them for the proper authorities later. Then they pressed on toward the coast, tension humming in the air. Ferry to the land of waves. By mid-afternoon the next day, they reached a small port where a rickety ferryboat waited. A middle-aged fisherman waved them aboard, cautioning them to remain silent once they crossed into the thick fog that cloaked the waters near the land of waves. The crossing was eerily quiet. Chizuna looked grim, hugging his bottle as if for comfort. Sakura couldn't hide her nerves, glancing around at every sound. Sasuke sat stiffly, scanning the gray horizon. Kakashi read from his book. Though Naruto was certain the Junin missed nothing, Naruto inhaled the salty air, trying to calm himself. The system UI hovered with a mild alert. Danger rating. High. That was it. No specifics. He clenched his jaw, heart pounding with anticipation. If they encountered more skilled enemies, he'd have to rely on the cheat codes or that swirling red chakra deep inside. But the Kyuubi key was risky. If he lost control, he could harm his own teammates or reveal too much about his secrets. The ferry lurched as it bumped against the hidden docks. Wisps of fog trailed across the wooden planks. Chizuna disembarked first, leading them into a shadowy forest path. Kakashi signaled for silence. They walked a mile or so, every step muffled by damp earth. Eventually, Naruto noticed the faint outline of something in the trees. He froze, heart thumping. Sasuke's voice was barely above a whisper. I sense it too. Kakashi lifted 2 fingers, motioning for caution. The group halted. A sudden swirl of lethal wind tore past them. A massive blade wider than a grown man whirled end over end, spinning toward them like a guillotine. Kakashi snatched Chizuna to the ground, saving him by inches. The blade embedded in a thick trunk with a thunderous crack. Standing on the sword's handle was a tall figure wrapped in bandages. He wore a mist headband slashed across the emblem. His face remained mostly hidden, leaving only a single piercing eye visible. Kakashi's voice went quiet. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the hidden mist. Sakura swallowed hard, stepping protectively in front of Chizuna. Sasuke tensed. eyes blazing with the thrill of a real challenge. Naruto felt a cold excitement coil in his stomach. Zabuza surveyed them. Hand over the old man and no one else needs to die. Kakashi's eye curved into a smile. Afraid we can't do that. Zabuza snorted, leaping down from the sword. He landed in a crouch, water droplets scattering from the thick mist. Very well, he growled. I'll kill you all, then. Ha! Kakashi. He stared at Zabuza, recalling old bingo book entries. S-Class, Master of Silent Killing, capable of forming an impenetrable mist. This was no child's play. He pulled his headband up, revealing the Sharingan in his left eye. Sasuke and Naruto are tough for Genin, but this might be too dangerous, Kakashi thought. Then he glanced at Naruto. The boy radiated a strange sense of potential, an aura Kakashi couldn't fully explain. Zabuza aimed a half-smile. Sharingan so soon, Kakashi. You must think highly of me. Kakashi lifted his Hitai-8, Foku. Sing on the subtle swirl of the Sharingan's Tomo. I won't let you touch my students or our client. Not while I can stand. Zabuza chuckled, weaving hand seals in a fluid dance. Water from the mist coalesced around him. Hidden mist jutsu. Quote. A chilling fog spread, enveloping the area in a damp shroud. Kakashi signaled for the team to stay close. Within seconds, visibility dropped drastically. Zabuza's voice echoed. 8 points. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys, heart, so many ways to kill you. Kakashi's pulse steadied, adrenaline spiking. He's using intimidation. Don't listen, he warned. Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke protect Tazuna. Stay behind me. His students obeyed, forming a protective cluster around Tazuna. Kakashi tensed. Any second, Zabuza would strike. Amid the mist, Naruto's heart thundered. He tried to glean something from the system interface, but the swirling icons provided minimal help in this near-blind environment. He sensed movement. Suddenly, Zabuza appeared at Kakashi's flank, swinging the massive sword with lethal precision. Kakashi blocked with a kunai, but the force flung him back. The Junin managed a swift flip, landing in a crouch. Zabuza rushed in again, a blur of silent fury. Sasuke launched shuriken, but Zabuza weaved around them as though dancing. Sakura kept her trembling hands around Tazuna's arm, determined not to let him get separated. Naruto grit his teeth, summoning 2 clones to flank the older man, providing an extra layer of defense. Steel clashed with steel in a whirlwind. Kakashi engaged Zabuza head-on, Sharingan blazing. For a few moments, it seemed he had the upper hand, copying Zabuza's water-based attacks. But then Zabuza fainted, luring Kakashi into a water prison jutsu. A swirling sphere of liquid trapped Kakashi's body, locking him in place. Kakashi-sensei, Sakura cried. Water cascaded around Kakashi's form, muffling his voice. Zabuza kept one arm inside the prison, pinning Kakashi. With his free hand, he manipulated more water, forming a water clone that advanced on the rest of Team 7. Naruto tensed. He felt that old flicker of panic losing his teacher was huge. But something else burned in his veins, a fierce resolve. He wasn't the same powerless kid from a few months ago. Zabuza's water clone rushed forward, sword raised. Sasuke braced himself, eyes flicking to Naruto. We have to get Kakashi out. Naruto nodded, forming the seal for more clones. We'll distract him, you find a way to break the jutsu. They moved in tandem. Naruto's clones burst from the mist, swirling around the water clone in a coordinated attack. Each clone took turns feinting, forcing the clone to pivot and defend. Meanwhile, Sasuke darted behind the real Zabuza, eyeing the sphere of water. If he could disrupt Zabuza's hold, Kakashi would be freed. Zabuza smirked at their attempt. Pathetic. He spun, adjusting his stance without losing his grip on Kakashi. Sasuke hurled kunai. Zabuza swatted them aside. Naruto's clones lunged, but the water clone dispatched them with savage efficiency, each bursting into vapor. Naruto cursed under his breath. The difference in skill was colossal. But then the system blinked a small red icon. Cheat code. Kyuubi key ready. He hesitated. Last time he used that power, it felt dangerously good. But Kakashi's life was on the line. This was no time for half measures. He closed his eyes, mentally activating the code. A searing warmth flared in his gut, spreading through his limbs. His pupils slit, whisker marks thickened, and red chakra began to swirl around him like a living aura. Sakura gasped, "Naruto, your chakra looks." He ignored her, focusing on controlling the demonic energy. He wouldn't let it control him. Instead, he channeled that power into his legs, launching forward in a blur that outsped his normal capabilities. The water clone turned at the last second, swinging the giant sword. Naruto ducked, red chakra flaring. He hammered a punch into the clone's midsection, blowing it apart in a burst of water. Zabuza's eyes widened. This was far stronger than a typical genin. In that split second of distraction, Sasuke whipped a shuriken at Zabuza's head. Zabuza leaned aside, but Sasuke had hidden a second kunai behind the first, a classic trick. The kunai sliced across Zabuza's arm, forcing him to jerk away. The water prison wobbled. Kakashi seized the moment, ripping free of the watery bonds and gasping a breath as he stumbled onto solid ground. "Well done," he rasped. Zabuza clicked his tongue. "Troublesome kids." Kakashi squared his shoulders. "Now we fight on even footing." Without giving Zabuza a chance to regroup, Kakashi formed hand seals in a blur that mirrored Zabuza's. "Water style. Water dragon jutsu." Zabuza snarled, forging the same technique in sync with Kakashi only to realize Kakashi was finishing the seals faster, thanks to the Sharingan's predictive ability. Two roaring dragons of water collided, shaking the clearing and washing away much of the mist. Naruto shielded his face from the spray. He glanced at Sasuke and Sakura, relieved to see them safe. Chizuna cowered behind a tree, understandably terrified. Kakashi's water dragon overpowered Zabuza's, slamming him against a trunk. The missing nin coughed, sliding down. Kakashi advanced, kunai at the ready. Yet before the final blow landed, Chusenbon needles flew from the treeline. Striking Zabuza's neck, he stiffened, eyes wide. Then he collapsed. In the sudden hush, a masked figure stepped forward, a slight, almost delicate presence. "Thank you for weakening him," the newcomer said softly, voice lightly echoing behind the porcelain mask. "I've been hunting Zabuza for quite some time." Kakashi froze, scanning the mask, a hunter nin from the mist. "You're with the Kurigakure trackers." The figure nodded, collecting Zabuza's body with surprising gentleness. "Yes, I must dispose of him properly." Naruto, still cloaked in faint red chakra, frowned. Something about this felt off. But Kakashi, breathing hard from the fight, seemed to accept it. "Very well," Kakashi relented. "We appreciate your assistance." The masked shinobi hoisted Zabuza's body and vanished into the trees, leaving only swirling mist behind. Naruto eased off the Kyuubi ki, letting the red aura dissipate. A wave of exhaustion followed. The system pinged. Kyuubi ki deactivated. Warning. Overuse may incur mental strain. He winced slightly, ignoring the system's caution. They'd survived. That was all that mattered. Sakura crouched beside him, eyes flicking over his transformed features. "Naruto, are you okay?" He forced a grin. "I'm fine. Just used more chakra than usual." Kakashi rubbed at his Sharingan eye, voice low. "We should get Chizuna to safety. I suspect this isn't over." Chizuna's house. It took another half-day of cautious travel, but eventually they reached Chizuna's home, a modest, sturdy house near the water's edge. Mist hung over the coastline, and the half-finished silhouette of a grand bridge extended from the shore. Even incomplete, it was an impressive feat of engineering. Chizuna's daughter, Tsunami, greeted them at the door. She looked to be in her mid-20s, with long dark hair and kind eyes that flickered with relief on seeing her father return. "Thank goodness you're all right." She ushered them inside, insisting they rest. The living area was small but warm. Sasuke and Sakura set their packs down, exhaustion etched on their faces. Naruto tried to hide a tremor of weariness from earlier channeling. The fox's chakra always left him shaky afterward. Kakashi was the worst off, leaning on a wall, wiping sweat from his brow. "Please, sit," Tsunami urged, concern evident. "I'll bring tea." They collapsed around a low table. Chizuna managed a wry grin at Tsunami. "See what I meant about needing real ninja?" She scolded him softly. "Father, you shouldn't have lied. But I'm grateful they came." Kakashi gave a nod. "We'll stay until the bridge is complete. We should talk about security measures in the meantime." Naruto leaned his elbows on the table, glancing between father and daughter. Tsunami was certainly beautiful, he couldn't help but notice. He shook that thought aside, focusing on the mission. Still, the faint surge of attraction was new. Tsunami placed steaming cups of tea in front of them, then sat down. "I'll do whatever you suggest. Kakashi-san, the local townspeople are too afraid to stand up to Gato's men. If you weren't here, we'd have no hope." Naruto took a sip of tea, letting the warmth seep through him. A quiet sense of gratitude pulsed in his chest. He was proud to help. Sasuke sat cross-legged, brooding. That masked hunter Nin, something about them felt strange. Kakashi exhaled. Indeed, typically, Hunter Nin destroy the body on the spot to prevent enemy secrets from leaking. Taking it away was unusual. He glanced at Naruto. "I suspect Zabuza may not be dead." Naruto's fists clenched. "Then we'll have to face him again." "Yes, probably soon," Kakashi agreed. "We'll need to be ready. For now, rest. Tomorrow, we'll start a training regimen to prepare for the next attack." Sakura nodded, still a bit pale from all the near-death chaos. Tsunami stood. "I'll get you all some blankets. You can take turns using the spare bedroom. We don't have much, but it's yours." Naruto caught her eye as she passed. She offered a small, tired smile. Despite her worry, she radiated gentle warmth that tugged at something in him. Late night, moonlight filtered through the old wooden shutters. Everyone else had turned in. But Naruto lay awake on a makeshift futon in the living room. He fiddled with the system menus in the dim light. Quest progress. Defeated Zabuza temporarily, partial completion. Reward. Plus 1000 XP. Next objective. Ensure Tazuna completes the bridge and protect him from further attacks. He noticed his XP bar had jumped significantly after the encounter. Checking his status. Naruto Uzumaki. Level 5. HP. 454 150ths. CP. 1200. A small smile played on his lips. He could feel that heightened power, a raw hum in his muscles. But also, the memory of the Kyuubi key still sent a shiver down his spine. The rush was addictive, the sense of unstoppable might. A part of him worried he might lose himself in it if he wasn't careful. He closed the interface with a sigh. Then he heard soft footsteps. Turning his head, he saw Tsunami approach, wearing a simple robe, her hair down around her shoulders. "Can't sleep?" she asked gently. Naruto sat up, feeling oddly self-conscious. "Yeah, too much on my mind." Tsunami crossed the room and knelt beside him. "I understand. It's been chaotic. Thank you for protecting my father." Her gaze held genuine warmth. Naruto swallowed, feeling his pulse quicken. She was older, sure, but the look in her eyes was gentle, appreciative. He found himself slipping into an easy grin. "No problem. It's our job." She reached out, brushing a lock of hair off his forehead. The gesture was maternal and comforting, yet it sent a strange flutter through Naruto's stomach. "Still, you're just a boy, risking your life for us. I wish our country didn't need that." He caught her hand lightly, surprising himself. "We can handle it," he said, voice quieter than usual. "I promise." For a moment, their eyes locked. Naruto's heart thudded. Part of him felt a little guilty he'd been forming close bonds back home with Hinata and even subtle flirts with Ayame. But Tsunami's gratitude and exhaustion wrapped around him, stirring a protective urge. He leaned closer, hardly thinking. She seemed just as surprised as he was, yet she didn't pull away. Their lips brushed in a fleeting, delicate contact that made Naruto's stomach flip. It wasn't a deep kiss. More a gentle meeting of warmth and gratitude. Tsunami broke away first, cheeks coloring. Sorry," she whispered, pulling her hand back. I'm just tired and relieved you're here." Naruto's mind spun. "Noah, I mean, it's okay. I get it." She stood abruptly, smoothing her robe. "I should get some rest." "Thank you again, Naruto." He watched her retreat, heart pounding in the silence. Slowly, he settled back down, inhaling a shaky breath. A system notification blinked. Tsunami affection +5. He pressed a hand over his eyes, feeling a surge of conflicting emotions. He was a shinobi on a dangerous mission. And he definitely wasn't opposed to flirting or even more. But was it fair to Tsunami, who was in a desperate situation. Confusion knotted in his chest. Eventually, exhaustion claimed him, pulling him into restless dreams of swirling red chakra and masked enemies. Next morning, training by the forest edge, Kakashi decided they needed to hone their chakra control. While Tazuna resumed bridge work accompanied by Sakura for near-constant vigilance, Naruto and Sasuke followed Kakashi into the woods. Kakashi leaned on a crutch, feigning more pain than he probably felt, but kept a sharp eye on them. "All right," he began, "the best way to deal with a Junin as skilled as Zabuza is to ensure you're not at a raw power disadvantage. The two of you have potential, but your chakra control is still rough around the edges, especially you, Naruto." Naruto folded his arms. Yeah, so what's the plan?" Kakashi gestured upward at the towering trees. "Tree climbing practice. Without using your hands, focus chakra into your feet and walk up the trunk. This will refine your control and prepare you for advanced maneuvers. Once you master that, we'll move on to water walking." Sasuke eyed the trees with a hint of skepticism. "Fine, let's get on with it." Kakashi tossed each of them a kunai. "Mark your progress. Don't overdo it, or you'll fall and injure yourselves. Keep repeating until you can reach the top easily." Naruto smirked, recalling how the system might help him gauge chakra flow. He performed the technique. For a moment, he balanced on the trunk, taking a few steps upward. Then his control wavered, bark exploded under his feet, and he tumbled backward. Sasuke managed a bit farther before slipping, digging his kunai into the wood to catch himself. He landed lightly, frowning. Kakashi suppressed a chuckle. "This might take a while. Keep at it." They repeated the exercise over and over, forging a healthy rivalry. Each time Sasuke climbed higher, Naruto grit his teeth and pushed even harder. The system displayed a meter for chakra stability, and he tried to keep it balanced. By midday, they were both dripping sweat, tree trunks scarred with their repeated attempts. Meanwhile, Kakashi occasionally glimpsed the direction of Tazuna's bridge. He worried about Sakura alone with Tazuna, but they needed at least one guard on him. He also felt uneasy about Zabuza's possible return. As the sun climbed higher, Naruto began to see real results. His next attempt saw him racing half the trunk's height before blowing a chunk of bark free. Sasuke climbed slightly further. Naruto cursed but refused to be left behind. "All right," Sasuke muttered, panting. "One more time." Naruto formed a hand seal, focusing on his internal chakra flow. He pictured the gentle swirl of energy, guided it carefully to the soles of his feet. Steady, he stepped onto the trunk. One foot, then the other. Step by step, he ascended. He felt the bark secure under his feet. No sign of cracking. A triumphant grin lit his face. "I'm doing it," Sasuke grunted, launching his own attempt. They both reached higher and higher. At the final stretch, Naruto almost lost his balance but caught himself by adjusting his chakra output. With a light leap, he landed on a sturdy branch near the top, heart thumping in exhilaration. He looked across to see Sasuke on a branch just a bit lower. Their eyes met. Sasuke's expression was unreadable for a moment, then he smirked back. Kakashi gave a short clap from below. "Impressive, you two. That's faster progress than I expected." Naruto hopped down, adrenaline still buzzing. The system pinged. Skill unlocked. Chakra control intermediate. Chakra-based techniques now cost 10% less. He grinned widely. More efficiency meant more clones, more jutsu, more everything. Kakashi nodded at them. "Get a quick breather, then we'll move to water walking at the edge of the bay." Naruto and Sasuke exchanged a glance of mutual determination. They'd come so far but couldn't afford to relax. Bridge construction site. Sakura tried to hide her nerves, scanning every shadow around the half-built bridge. Workers moved slow, under the oppressive gaze of Gato's hired goons who occasionally lurked in the distance. Tazuna hammered beams into place, ignoring the threat as best he could. She took in a shaky breath. "I'm the only genin here. If something happens, can I handle it?" She remembered how the demon brothers had nearly cut them down. Naruto and Sasuke were out training, and Kakashi was recovering. She tightened her grip on a kunai. "I won't let them down. I'll keep Tazuna safe until they return." A faint splash drew her attention. She whipped around, kunai raised. But it was only a stray piece of debris dropping into the water below. She exhaled, heart pounding, stopped jumping at shadows. Yet the disquiet wouldn't leave her. Pav, the masked shinobi. Deep in a secluded clearing by a river, the masked figure knelt beside Zabuza's body. The Senbon had placed him in a death-like trance, halting bodily functions enough to fool Kakashi. Slowly, the figure withdrew the needles, letting Zabuza regain consciousness. Zabuza's eyes snapped open, and he coughed, forcing a rasped breath. Haku, how long? Only a day, the masked figure Haku answered softly, removing the porcelain mask. Beneath lay a youth with delicate features and kind eyes. You pushed yourself too hard. Zabuza scowled, propping himself against a tree trunk. HMPH. That Kakashi, and that brat with the red chakra. They're strong. We have to finish the job. Haku bowed. I understand, but you need to heal. It will take at least a week before you can fight at full strength again. Zabuza clenched a fist, frustration seething. I don't have time for that. Gato's already stingy with his payments. If he thinks we're too weak, he might try to cut us off or worse. Haku lowered his gaze. Then let me go in your place. I can handle the genin. Zabuza's fierce glare softened. Don't underestimate them, Haku. That blonde kid, there's something unnatural about his chakra. But if you must, strike swiftly. Don't let your guard down. Haku nodded, a glint of sorrow in his eyes. I understand. Still, I hope it doesn't come to needless bloodshed. Zabuza let out a mocking laugh. This is war, kid. Bloodshed is all there is. Water walking training. Sunlight slanted through the late afternoon mist as Naruto and Sasuke stood knee-deep in the shallows near Tezuna's home. Kakashi, resting on a log, explained the process. Focus chakra to the soles of their feet. Maintain equilibrium on the shifting liquid surface. Naruto took a step. The water dipped under his sandal, but he didn't sink fully. Another step, and he wavered, arms pinned, eeling before plunging into the cold water with a splash. Sasuke managed a few steps more before he too lost balance and tumbled in. They sputtered, glaring at each other in a mix of frustration and competitive drive. Kakashi offered a lopsided smile. Keep adjusting. Just like with the tree climbing, but the water's surface tension is always in flux. They tried again and again, each time refining the delicate push and pull of chakra. By the time the sun touched the horizon, they could walk a few yards without sinking. Naruto eventually plopped onto the shore, panting. I'm starving. Kakashi closed his eye. Let's head back. We'll train more tomorrow. Evening at Tezuna's house. A modest dinner had been prepared by tsunami rice, steamed fish, and vegetables. Team 7 ate quietly around the table. Naruto had a robust appetite, wolfing down a second portion, while Sasuke silently glowered over his meal, presumably frustrated with the day's training. Sakura seemed lost in thought, casting occasional looks at Naruto as though remembering his strange red chakra from before. Finally, Tezuna cleared his throat. We can't thank you enough for staying. Kakashi nodded but kept a watchful eye on the windows. He had a sense that something would happen soon. Naruto finished his bowl, feeling Tsunami's gaze linger on him. She offered a gentle smile, one that stirred recollections of the soft kiss the night before. He felt his cheeks warm slightly. Stay focused, he scolded himself inwardly. Sakura noticed and narrowed her eyes curiously, but said nothing. Late that night, Naruto's paw. Exhausted from water walking, Naruto fell into a fitful sleep on his futon. Strange dreams assailed him. Swirling water, an endless maze of corridors, and at the end a looming figure with a hooded cloak. In the dream, the figure hissed, "Cheat codes, your godlike power, are you worthy?" He jerked awake, chest heaving, a sheen of sweat on his brow. His interface flickered. Nightmare detected. Mental stress +5. He rubbed his eyes. Great, now the system tracked nightmares. The house was silent, the others presumably asleep. With a quiet groan, he sat up, deciding maybe fresh air would help. Slipping outside, he inhaled the cool coastal breeze. The moon cast a silver path across the water. He approached the small dock near Tezuna's house, letting the gentle waves soothe him. He was so ill, Austin thought that he almost didn't notice Tsunami step onto the dock behind him. Can't sleep again? She asked softly. He nodded, meeting her eyes in the moonlight. Yeah. He paused, feeling that same flutter as before. You too. Quote. Tsunami came closer, arms wrapped around her waist. I worry about father and the workers. And, I think about everything you and your friends have done. You're risking so much. Naruto blew out a slow breath. We'll keep your family safe. That's a promise. Tsunami moved a little closer, her warmth palpable. I believe you. He found himself gently resting a hand on her shoulder. She exhaled, eyes drifting shut. This time the kiss they shared was slightly deeper, a soft meeting of lips that held gratitude, tension, and something tender all at once. Yuto's heart pounded at the closeness of her body, the subtle feel of her breath. He broke away, chest tight. He recalled Hinata's shy face, Ayame's playful smiles, and now Tsunami's earnest affection. Part of him felt guilty or confused. Was it wrong to be this open? Another part of him craved the connection, the sense of being accepted and admired. Tsunami lowered her gaze. I'm sorry if. He silenced her with a gentle finger on her lips. It's okay. Really. For a while, they just stood there, letting the quiet rush of the tide fill the space between them. Eventually, she gave him a small smile and returned to the house, leaving Naruto alone with the whisper of the sea. The next few days, life settled into a tense routine. Kakashi pushed Naruto and Sasuke hard with chakra control training each morning, while Sakura maintained watch at the bridge with Tazuna. By the afternoon, the boys would join them at the construction site in shifts to provide additional security. Naruto quickly improved at water walking, even finding moments to practice swirling wind chakra across his palms, a step he hoped might lead to a more advanced jutsu soon. Sasuke seethed with quiet ambition, determined not to be outdone. Sakura, for her part, struggled with the guilt of feeling less useful in direct combat. Kakashi reassured her that protecting Tazuna from stealth attacks was just as crucial. Each evening, Tsunami welcomed them with home-cooked meals. Her gratitude shone whenever she looked at Naruto, though she kept their private moments discreet. Naruto sensed she didn't want to complicate matters, especially with her father around. The system's quest updates were minimal, just routine, +5 XP, from small tasks or guard duty. Naruto felt the calm before the storm in his bones. Zabuza was out there, no doubt recovering, and that masked hunter Nin Haku still weighed on his mind. Then, on the 6th day, everything changed. Morning of the 6th day, Tsunami's pav. Tsunami was in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for her guests. She'd grown fond of the energetic blonde boy who carried such a heavy weight on his shoulders but still managed to smile. She admired Sakura's commitment, Sasuke's silent determination, and Kakashi's calm leadership. She heard shouts from the front yard. Her chest tightened. Something was wrong. Racing to the door, she froze. 2 thugs brandishing swords stood at the entrance. One smirked, stepping forward. So you're Tazuna's daughter. Come with us, and you won't get hurt much. She backed away, terror rising. The house was empty aside from her. Kakashi and the others had gone to the bridge earlier. She thought Naruto was outside practicing. Where was he now? The second thug advanced. Hurry up, lady. Gato wants a little chat. Tsunami clenched her fists, trying to muster courage. Stay back. She grabbed a kitchen knife, hand trembling. The men laughed. Then a blur of orange and blonde barreled in from the side. Naruto. She hardly saw him move, but the next instant, one thug lay sprawled on the ground, gasping for air. The other staggered back, sword clattering. Naruto turned to Tsunami, breath quick. You okay? Relief washed over her. Why yes. He nodded, stepping forward to handle the second thug. But a new figure emerged from behind them, a slender silhouette wearing that porcelain mask. Haku. Naruto froze, realizing this was no random thug. You're that hunter Nin, he breathed. Haku's voice remained calm. I don't want to hurt you, but I must take Tazuna's family as leverage. Please, step aside. Naruto bared his teeth. Not a chance. The 2 thugs lunged again, emboldened by Haku's presence. Naruto spun, forming a clone that drop-kicked one. The other tried to slash at Tsunami, but Naruto intercepted with a swift jab to the face. Haku watched, eyes sorrowful. You'll force me to fight you, then? Naruto glared. If that's what it takes to protect her, absolutely. Tsunami could see the tension in Naruto's shoulders. the fear and determination flickering in his eyes. She wanted to tell him to run, to not risk his life, but her voice stayed locked in her throat. In a fluid motion, Haku drew Senbon needles. Naruto summoned 4 clones, setting them in a protective ring around Tsunami. His gaze remained on Haku's masked face. Then, in a blur, Haku attacked. Senbon needles flickered like silver lightning. Naruto's clones sprang to intercept. But Haku's speed was unreal. One clone fell, then another, each dissolving in puffs of smoke. Tsunami backed into a corner, heart hammering. She wanted to help but felt paralyzed. Naruto hissed, "I won't let you take her." Red chakra flared around him, a dangerous swirl. Haku's eyes widened behind the mask. This is the same power as before. Naruto lunged, fists glowing with demonic energy. Haku sidestepped, delivering a swift strike that nearly hit Naruto's neck. But a ripple of red chakra deflected it. Naruto's eyes glowed with a wild intensity. Haku's calm facade wavered. "That power, it's harmful to you as well. Why do you push yourself so far?" Naruto clenched his jaw. "Because I promised I'd protect everyone. And I keep my promises." He forced ore of the Kyuubi's chakra into a single concentrated burst, lashing out with a clawed slash. Haku gasped, barely evading. The masked nin's robe tore, a thin line of blood beading on a pale shoulder. Before Haku could regroup, Naruto created more clones, filling the house's front yard with swirling orange. The system rang with warnings in Naruto's mind, but he ignored them. Warning: Kyuubi chakra overuse. He pressed the advantage, determined. Haku went on the defensive, flicking Senbon to fell as many clones as possible. But the raw number and Naruto's savage speed began to overwhelm. One clone pinned Haku's arm. Another grabbed Haku's waist. Naruto leapt in for a final strike, then froze when Haku's mask cracked, revealing half of a soft-featured face. Dark eyes shone with regret. Haku whispered, "Forgive me." A sudden swirl of ice-cold chakra erupted around them. Needles of frost formed in the air, forcing the clones to stumble back. Naruto shielded Tsunami with his body, the red chalk. Ra barely holding the freezing aura at bay. In the confusion, Haku withdrew, grabbing the remaining conscious thug. In a swirl of movement, they darted away into the fog. The only sign of their departure was the distant crunch of gravel. Naruto exhaled, releasing the Kyuubi's chakra with a shaky gasp. Sweat dripped from his temples. Tsunami rushed to him, placing a trembling hand on his arm. "Naruto, are you hurt?" He shook his head, chest heaving. "No, I'm okay. Thank you," Tsunami whispered, voice thick with relief. "You saved my life." He managed a tired smile. "I promised, didn't I?" At the bridge, simultaneously. Meanwhile, a fierce battle raged. Zabuza, partially recovered and fueled by sheer will, launched a surprise attack on Kakashi and the others at the bridge. Workers scattered in terror. Sakura guarded Tazuna behind stacks of lumber. Sasuke engaged a masked figure, another water clone. Or was it something else? Kakashi, battered from their previous fight, found himself pushed to the limit. Zabuza's killing intent pressed on him like a boulder, draining his stamina. Then Kakashi sensed a shift in the mist. He recognized Haku's chakra, though subdued. "So Haku's out," he muttered. "This might be our chance." Zabuza lunged, sword crashing down. Kakashi dodged, weaving a pattern of water jutsu to retaliate. Sasuke cornered a smaller clone, unleashing a flurry of kunai. But it wasn't enough to end the fight swiftly. Naruto arrives. After ensuring Tsunami was safe, Naruto dashed toward the bridge, the system flashing a new directive. Protect Tazuna from Zabuza. Updated objective. Sub-objective: neutralize Zabuza. He raced through the foggy streets, weaving between abandoned shacks. By the time he reached the bridge, the acrid smell of jutsu singed the air. He spotted Sakura guarding Tazuna behind a barricade of crates. Sasuke was a blur of motion, exchanging strikes with a masked water clone. Kakashi clashed steel with Zabuza's monstrous sword. Naruto's heart jolted. "I'm here." Sakura sighed in relief. "Naruto," she pointed. "Zabuza's focusing on Kakashi-sensei, but we haven't seen that hunter nin." Naruto's mind flicked back to Haku's sudden retreat at Tsunami's house. If Haku wasn't here, then Zabuza was fighting alone, injured or not, that was still dangerous. Sasuke slammed a kick into the water clone, dispersing it. He shot Naruto a glance of acknowledgement before turning his attention to the main threat. Zabuza, noticing Naruto's arrival, bared his teeth in a grin. So the demon brat is here too. Good, I owe you for last time. Kakashi seized the opening. He formed seals. Lightning blade. His hand glowed with crackling energy, a chirping sound filling the air. Zabuza's eyes widened. He raised his sword in a defensive arc, but Kakashi thrust forward. Lightning charged chakra piercing the steel. Sparks flew. Zabuza roared, forcing Kakashi back with a desperate swing. Blood dripped from Zabuza's side. He glared, chest heaving. Still not enough. Naruto, seeing an opportunity, formed shadow clones. We'll see about that. He and his clones dashed in. Zabuza spun, slicing 2 clones in half, but the others rushed him from behind. Sasuke joined, hurling shuriken. Zabuza batted them away, ignoring shallow cuts on his arms and legs. He was cornered but refused to go down easily. In the chaos, Kakashi's lightning flickered again. He prepared a second strike. His Sharingan locked onto Zabuza's movements. Zabuza tensed, bracing. I won't let you kill me. He formed a desperate water jutsu, walls of swirling liquid rising to block Kakashi's path. Naruto's clones hammered at the watery barrier, trying to break through. Sasuke circled around, searching for a flank. Kakashi's second lightning blade crackled, illuminating the fog. This ends now, he said. Voice cold. Zabuza roared, pushing the water shield forward. But Kakashi darted around it, Sharingan predicting his movements. The Junin's palm speared forward, guided by lethal precision. Lightning met flesh. Zabuza's eyes went wide, a spray of crimson marking the end of his last stand. He staggered back, sword clattering to the ground. Kakashi withdrew his hand, breath ragged. The glow of lightning fading. Zabuza coughed, dropping to one knee. Damn, you, he collapsed with a final, shuddering breath. A hush fell over the broken bridge. Sakura and Tazuna stood, stunned. Naruto's clones dissipated one by one, leaving the real Naruto to stare at the fallen ninja. Sasuke lowered his shuriken hand. He's finished. Kakashi knelt, checking for a pulse. Then he rose, a somber expression in his eye. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the mist, is dead. Naruto exhaled, mind whirling. On one hand, relief washed over him. On the other, a strange sadness. Zabuza was an enemy, but a formidable one with unwavering conviction. Aftermath. Exhausted workers peeked out from hiding, stepping forward with caution. Some recognized Zabuza's face, and an undercurrent of hope spread as they realized the tyrant's top enforcer was gone. Kakashi slumped slightly, panting. We need to make sure Gato won't send more. But, for now, the biggest threat is neutralized. Naruto walked over to Sasuke, who was clutching a shallow cut on his shoulder. You okay? Sasuke nodded, though he winced. I'll manage. Sakura ran to them, eyes shiny with relief. I'm so glad you're both safe. In the distance, Tazuna bowed his head, tears gathering. Thank you. You've saved us all. Kakashi tried to muster a grin but looked drained. Let's clean up here. The rest of Gato's men lose their nerve now that Zabuza's gone, but we shouldn't let our guard down. Naruto scanned the horizon, half expecting Haku to appear. But the only sound was the wind across the half-finished bridge. That evening, they returned to Tazuna's house, battered but victorious. Tsunami greeted them anxiously, gasping in relief at seeing Naruto walk in, scuffed but alive. She threw her arms around her father, sobbing quietly. Kakashi sank onto a chair, motioning for Sakura to fetch medical supplies. Sasuke dropped onto the floor, cradling his arm. Naruto tried to help Tsunami gather bandages, though he staggered slightly. Drained from repeated clone usage and Kyuubi chakra bursts earlier. When Tsunami laid a gentle hand on Naruto's wrist, a fresh wave of gratitude and complicated feelings washed over him. She looked up, eyes glistening. Thank you, she whispered, voice thick with emotion. He nodded, heart pounding. He couldn't very well kiss her in front of everyone, so he just squeezed her hand. Hey, lovebirds, Sasuke grunted from the floor, maybe some bandages first. Naruto flushed, shooting Sasuke a glare. Tsunami cleared her throat, moving quickly to attend to Sasuke's cut. In the days that followed, Gato's men tried to rally once or twice, but without Zabuza's leadership, they were easily driven off by Team 7. The final touches on the bridge proceeded at a brisk pace now that the looming fear had lifted. A rumor spread that a masked youth had spirited Zabuza's body away, but no one could confirm it. Kakashi suspected it was Haku, but with Zabuza dead, the threat had largely passed. Sakura's confidence grew from her solid guard work. Sasuke took pride in refining his water walking even further. Naruto checked his system daily, noticing his level inching up. He also juggled the affectionate attention from Tsunami, his thoughts drifting at times to how Hinata or Yame might feel about his more adventurous side. Yet, a new tension churned in Naruto's gut. Zabuza was strong, but what about future enemies? The system's cryptic references to godlike threats and the robed figure in his nightmares lingered. If this was just the beginning, he needed more power and more self-control. Completion of the Great Naruto Bridge. It took another week for Tazuna to finish the bridge. On the final day, the townsfolk gathered to celebrate. Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto stood with Tazuna at the center of the grand structure. Tsunami was there as well, eyes shining. Thank you. The land of waves is free. Cheers erupted as Tazuna placed the last beam, Signy. FYING, the official opening of the trade route. No more forced shipping fees by Gato. The crowd roared. Tazuna wiped a tear, turning to Team 7. You've done so much. This country owes you a debt we can never repay. Naruto felt a surge of pride. You'll repay us by living free. The crowd parted, giving Tsunami space. She hesitated, then threw her arms around Naruto in a tight hug. The onlookers smiled, some teased. Naruto returned the embrace, letting the warmth of the moment wash over him. Kakashi coughed politely, though he gave a hidden grin. We should be heading back to Konoha soon. Tazuna glanced between them and the expanse of the bridge. Wait, I wanted to name this bridge in honor of the spirit you've given us. He paused, gaze settling on Naruto. We'll call it the Great Naruto Bridge. Naruto's mouth dropped open. But Tazuna grinned. You never gave up, kid. You showed our entire nation that courage can topple tyrants. Applause thundered across the newly finished structure. Naruto felt tears prickle at the corners of his eyes. He blinked them back, stammering a thanks he couldn't quite put into words. Farewell to the waves. They departed amid cheers and well wishes. Before leaving, Tsunami pulled Naruto aside by a small cart near the village outskirts. She looked conflicted, biting her lip. I know you have to go, she whispered, eyes drifting to the leaf forehead protector around his arm. Your life is so big, with endless responsibilities. But I hope you remember us. Naruto gazed at her, a swirl of emotions in his chest. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. I won't forget. If you ever need help, I'll come back in a heartbeat. That's a promise. She leaned in, pressing a gentle kiss to his cheek. It wasn't as charged as their nighttime encounters, but it held a quiet sincerity. Thank you for everything. He smiled, touching the spot where her lips had been. Then he turned and jogged to catch up with Kakashi and the others. On the road to Konoha, silence reigned for a while as the four walked. Eventually, Sakura broke it with a light cough. Naruto, you really grew stronger. Sasuke added grudgingly, not bad, Dobi. But don't think I'll let you get ahead of me. Naruto shot him a cocky grin. I wouldn't dream of it. Kakashi walked a few steps ahead, hands in his pockets. Let's just say we all grew from this mission. And it won't be our last challenge. Naruto felt that unwavering excitement burn anew. They'd faced a lethal enemy, discovered depths to their powers and uncovered new mysteries. The gamer system, the Kyuubi's chakra, the robed figure that haunted his dreams, so many questions loomed. They left the land of waves with heads held high, forging the path back to the village that had once shun Naruto but was beginning to see him as a formidable shinobi. Nightfall. Konoha's gates. They arrived at the gates after sunset. Lanterns glowed along the walls, and a few sentries waved them through, congratulating them on a safe return. We'll report to the Hokage tomorrow, Kakashi said, stifling a yawn. For now, get some rest. Sakura and Sasuke headed off, each too tired to argue about anything. Naruto lingered near the gate, letting the hush of the village at night envelop him. He felt the system flicker. Quest complete. Escort Tazuna to the land of waves. Reward. 2000 Express, 500 Rio. Skill scroll. Water walking mastery. He opened his inventory, noticing a glimmering scroll. When used, it would presumably sharpen his control even further. But he decided to handle that in the morning. Right now, all he wanted was a hot meal and maybe some well-deserved sleep. Yet, a little grin tugged at his lips as he thought of two possibilities for that hot meal. Ichiraku, with a Yame's bright smile. Or maybe an unexpected run-in with Hinata. If he was being honest, he missed them both. He also felt a pang of conflict. He wanted to share stories, jokes, and maybe more. I really am greedy, he mused. At last, he shoved his hands in his pockets and made his way into the village, that cocky tilt to his head returning. He was Naruto Uzumaki, the gamer with cheat codes. And he was growing stronger every day, enough to stand up to foes like Zabuza, enough to spark genuine feelings in those around him. Somewhere in the recesses of his mind, he heard the echoing lot R of the robed figure from his nightmares. A reminder that bigger storms were on the horizon. But for now, Naruto welcomed the chance to rest. He disappeared into the quiet streets, ready to find a immense peace before the next great wave of challenges crashed into his life. Unknown location. Far from Konoha, in a candlelit chamber, the hooded figure watched flickering images in a basin of shimmering water. Naruto's victory over Zabuza played out in ghostly echoes. The figure's voice rumbled with measured satisfaction. So he's passed another trial, awakened more of the nine tails. Good. There's still much to test. Another silhouette shifted in the darkness, tall and imposing. Will we move on him now? The hooded figure tapped spidery fingers on the basin's rim. Not yet. We have time. Let him bask in his small successes. The system's cheat codes remain incomplete. When the boy truly unlocks them, we'll see if he stands among gods or falls into oblivion. With that, the water's reflection went dark, leaving only the soft hiss of flame in the silent chamber. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Rise of the Apex Shinobi. Twilight settled over Konoha, washing the village in gentle purple hues. A cooling breeze ran through the training fields, rustling leaves overhead. Naruto stood at the center of an open clearing, fists braced on his hips, gazing at the holographic panels that only he could see. He exhaled slowly. The last few weeks had been a blur of missions, training, and minor dramas. But everything in the village now buzzed with anticipation. In the time since Team 7 returned from the land of waves, word of their feat had spread. Even shinobi from other squads acknowledged that Naruto, once the village's loudest dropout, had not only survived a battle with the demon of the mist but helped defeat him. Whispers said he was the real deal. Of course, the details of his gamer system remained his secret. He flicked through the skill menu, a small grin tugging at his mouth. Night. Near Training Field 3. Sasuke stood a few yards away, performing his own drills. The Uchiha grimaced after failing a new variation of the fireball jutsu. Steam rose off his lips as he tried to cycle chakra again. Naruto closed his interface, rolling his shoulders. You still struggling with that move? Sasuke glared. Mind your own business. Naruto scratched the side of his cheek in feigned innocence. Hey, I'm just saying. You've been at it all day. Sasuke formed hand seals, forcibly ignoring him. Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu. A series of smaller fireballs puffed out, scattering in erratic arcs. They fizzled sooner than intended, leaving a smoky haze and a frustrated Sasuke. Damn it. Naruto shrugged, stepping back into a ready stance. He'd spent the afternoon experimenting with his wind affinity, layering gale palm blasts onto his kunai throws. The synergy still needed polish, but it was definitely leveling up his skill. He could almost sense Sasuke's envy. Their rivalry thrummed in the air. Both had grown exponentially, but each refused to be outdone. A flicker of movement caught their attention. Kakashi emerged from the tree line, nose buried in his ever-present orange book. Still pushing yourselves at this hour, huh? He said. Naruto tossed a kunai at a target stump, nailing the bull's eye. Can't slack off, he replied. Not with the Chunin exams coming. Kakashi's lone visible eye curved. Yes, about that. Tomorrow morning, the Hokage will officially open registration for the exam. And since you're so eager, I guess there's nothing more to discuss. Sasuke lowered his arms, chest still heaving from exertion. We're ready. Kakashi paused, then pinned them with a serious look. A word of warning. The exam is no joke. Shinobi from all 5 great nations will be here. Many older than you. The competition can get lethal. Naruto felt his gut tighten, remembering the near-fatal clash with Zabuza. Then we'll just have to be stronger, he said, resolute. Kakashi gave a half nod. All right, that's enough for tonight. Get some rest, both of you. He tilted his book in a lazy salute and vanished back into the woods. Sasuke wiped sweat from his brow. I'll beat you to the top, he growled, turning away. Naruto smirked, looking forward to it. Shortly after, Naruto found himself strolling through Konoha's quiet streets. The lamp-lit paths and familiar scents brought an odd comfort. At times, he still flashed back to Tsunami's kiss and the intensity that had flared between them, or the shy warmth of Hinata's eyes. He tried not to dwell on guilt. His system clearly rewarded building bonds, but it felt more complicated than collecting affection points. Every relationship stirred real feelings. He turned a corner, heading toward Ichiraku Ramen. The neon sign glowed faintly in the night, a beacon of comfort. When he ducked under the small curtain, Ayame greeted him with a cheerful wave. Naruto. Late night training again. He slid onto a stool, giving a lopsided grin. You know it. Gotta keep my edge. A bowl of miso, please. Ayame busied herself preparing his order, humming softly. Chuki, the owner, popped his head out from the back with a warm laugh. Our hero's back, he joked, referencing rumors of Naruto's near-legendary exploits in the Land of Waves. Naruto scratched his cheek, a bit embarrassed. Not a hero, I just did my job. Ayame served the steaming bowl, leaning forward with a playful smile. You're too modest. Everyone's talking about you. He couldn't help a grin. The system beeped quietly. Ayame affection +1. He tried not to let that distract him. Thanks, Ayame-chan, he murmured, inhaling the rich aroma of broth and noodles. The first bite melted away his fatigue. She leaned on the counter, curiosity lighting her face. I hear the Chunin exams are starting soon. Are you going to participate? He nodded between mouthfuls. Team 7's definitely entering. Gotta see how far we've come. Ayame's voice softened. Be careful, okay. Word is, a lot of tough shinobi are coming from Suna and other villages. Some can be ruthless. Naruto swallowed, meeting her gaze. Don't worry, I'll come back in one piece. She studied him for a second, then nodded, a faint pink tint dusting her cheeks. I know you will. He finished his ramen quickly, paid, and rose to leave. Thanks for dinner. I'll see you soon. As he stepped back into the night, the system flashed a new sub-quest. Sub-quest. Shine in the Chunin exam's objective. Stand out among the competition. Reward. He felt that familiar spark of excitement. He was more than ready. Next morning, registration hall at the academy. Sunlight streamed through tall windows onto a large corridor now bustling with young shinobi from different villages. Ba. NNERS displayed the official insignia of the Chunin exams. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke navigated the crowd. Over their heads, the chatter rose in a mix of excitement and tension. Sakura stopped short. Look, there from the hidden sand, she pointed to a trio wearing Suna headbands. One of them had a massive gourd strapped to his back, red hair spiked upward, dark-rimmed eyes set in a pale face. He radiated a quiet menace that made goosebumps crawl up Naruto's arms. Sasuke frowned. He's strong. Naruto, ignoring the system's faint note of caution, studied the red-haired boy. A mild wave of hostility flickered in the air, as if they recognized each other as predators. The boy's cold green eyes slid over Naruto, lingering for a fraction of a second before he turned away. Sakura cleared her throat, shifting uneasily. This exam is huge. I didn't realize so many powerful shinobi would be here. Naruto just grinned, adrenaline stirring. We'll blow 'em all away. Come on. They reached a bow, oath manned by a couple of Chunin proctors. Once they confirmed Team 7's participation, the proctors handed over a small scroll each, explaining it was for official rules. Naruto tried not to yawn through. The typical disclaimers. Potential death, disclaimers of liability, recommended funeral arrangements. Standard stuff, apparently. Sasuke walked ahead, scanning the sea of faces. We're supposed to gather in room 301. He paused when he noticed a peculiar cluster of genin around a staircase. But that sign says 301, even though we're on the second floor. Naruto laughed under his breath. They're messing with everyone. Genjutsu to weed out the weak. Indeed, two older-looking genin blocked the door, taunting various newcomers to give up and go home. Some kids were already backing off, discouraged. Sakura frowned, then snapped her fingers. That's definitely an illusion. The real third floor is one level up. Sasuke nodded sharply. Exactly. He started forward, about to expose the genjutsu. Before he could, another voice cut through the crowd. Oi, are you guys the famed Team 7? A tall boy with distinctive bushy brows and a green jumpsuit stepped forward. I am Rock Lee. I've been looking forward to meeting you, especially you, Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Do I know you? Lee gave a determined thumbs up. Not yet, but I want to test my strength against the Uchiha clan's prodigy. How about a quick spar before the exams? Sakura looked appalled. We're busy. Sure, Sasuke interjected coolly, stepping from the crowd. Naruto raised a brow, noticing how Lee's posture radiated confidence. Something told him this guy wasn't just talk. The system gave a subtle ping. Caution. Rock Lee's taijutsu proficiency is off the charts. Naruto smirked inwardly. This exam is gonna be wild. With a hush falling, Lee beckoned Sasuke aside to an empty corner of the corridor. Several watchers inched closer, eager for a show. Sakura tried to protest, but Sasuke shrugged her off. Let's see what you've got, he said, adopting a fighting stance. Lee bowed politely. Then, in a burst of speed that caught even Naruto off guard, he closed the gap and aimed a spinning kick at Sasuke's ribcage. Sasuke barely raised an arm in time, sliding a step back. Surprise flashed in his eyes. Lee followed up with a barrage of quick jabs and sweeping kicks, forcing Sasuke on the defensive. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Sakura's hands flew to her mouth. Naruto felt a thrill at seeing Sasuke struggle. There were strong contenders here, indeed. Finally, Sasuke used his Sharingan, the red tomo swirling, to anticipate Lee's next strike. He dodged a punch, retaliating with a palm thrust that nearly caught Lee's chest. But Lee twisted gracefully away, flipping backward. Impressive, he remarked. But the Sharingan can't fully copy my brand of taijutsu. Sasuke grimaced, clearly irritated. He lunged again, but Lee vanished in a blur. A second later, Sasuke was on the floor, arms pinned behind him. Lee poised above with a clenched fist. The entire exchange took only seconds. The corridor erupted in shocked murmurs. Lee eased off, face earnest. Thank you for indulging me. But I won't push further. My sensei told me not to overexert before the exam. He bowed to Sasuke, who stood, face dark with humiliation. A new presence descended from the upper staircase, arms folded. A tall man with thick eyebrows and a Jonin vest glowered at Lee. You scamp, I told you not to cause a scene. With a dramatic flourish, he soared down, flipping into a crouch. Youthful brats these days, always ignoring their sensei's wise counsel. Lee stiffened, blushing furiously. Guy-sensei, forgive me. Naruto watched the bizarre spectacle, the system quietly labeling them as Might Guy and Rock Lee in green text. Guy gave a cheesy thumbs up, whisking Lee away in a swirl of spandex and tears of apology. The entire hallway remained stunned. Sasuke clenched his fists, eyes stormy with frustration. Naruto bit back a laugh, though a spark of caution flickered in his mind. If that was just a random challenge, who else is lurking around with insane skill? He clapped Sasuke's shoulder, earning a glare. Don't worry, man, we'll get him next time. Sasuke jerked away, pride stung. I don't need your pity. Sakura looked torn, glancing between them. Come on, let's find the real 301. No more distractions. Naruto didn't argue. The sooner they got out of this crowd, the better. Third floor examination room. They entered a wide chamber lined with benches, desks, and shinobi from various villages. A few Kusa-nin, grass-nin, huddled in the corner, while teams from Suna, Konoha, and even a few from smaller hidden villages milled about. The tension was palpable. A hush fell when a tall L figure in a black coat with a leaf headband stepped to the front of the room. He wore a bandana over short spiky hair, a long scar across his face. "All right, listen up," he barked, voice echoing. "My name is Ibiki Morino. I'm the proctor for the first exam. Let's get started." Naruto folded his arms, scanning the crowd. Sakura and Sasuke stood to either side of him. He noticed Hinata a few rows away, peeking shyly at him from behind Kiba and Shino. He offered a grin, feeling a pang of warmth. She blushed, quickly averting her gaze. Ibiki slammed a hand on a nearby chalkboard. "Rules for the first exam are simple and complex. We're starting with a written test. 10 questions total. You have 1 hour. You break the rules, your whole team fails. So no cheating, at least, not obviously." A dark smirk crept across his lips. Groans resonated throughout the room. Naruto made a face. "A paper test. Of course. Nothing's ever straightforward." The system helpfully displayed. "Survive Ibiki's written exam tip. Cheating is part of the challenge, but do it cleverly." He exhaled slowly. All that training, and now they were stuck answering tough questions. Ibiki passed out the test sheets. "Begin," he announced. Silence fell. Naruto stared at the cryptic questions, sweat forming on his brow. They were mostly advanced theoretical ninjutsu queries way beyond academy level. Even with all his new powers, he hadn't exactly studied. This is insane, he realized quickly. The exam likely tested espionage skills. Shinobi were expected to gather intel discreetly. "Don't get caught cheating," Ibiki had said. Right, the biggest hurdle was not to be too obvious. He steadied his breathing, checking the system for a skill that might help. Perception. LV2 improve your awareness of surrounding details. He activated it, letting the ambient data trickle in. Subtle movements of pencils, faint reflections in the proctor's mirrors. Over in one corner, Asuna Kunoichi was skillfully glancing at an A. Iber's paper without the proctor's noticing. Hyuga eyes from the other side scouted answers for their teammates. Naruto frowned. If he tried normal cheating, he'd likely get busted. But maybe he could do something creative. He formed a single shadow clone under the desk, small and half-sized. The illusions of the test environment hid it from view. The clone crawled stealthily along the floor beneath the rows of desks, its vantage point letting it peek at multiple test papers. Carefully, it memorized the answers from more knowledgeable teams like Shikamaru, who was obviously half asleep but had a near-genius mind. Every so often, the clone relayed info through Naruto's mental link. His real self then jotted down the gleaned answers, keeping his face calm. Ibiki's proctors roamed the aisles, but none noticed the subtle infiltration. The system displayed stealth skill, LV2 to LV3. Naruto hid a grin behind his test sheet. Easy. He eyed Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke used his Sharingan to see the micro movements of a top-scoring shinobi's pencil, while Sakura might actually know half the material on her own. All three found ways to handle the test without being caught. Naruto glimpsed others failing under the watchful proctors, forcibly dismissed when they racked up too many demerits. After 50 minutes, Ibiki paused the exam. "Now for the 10th question," he announced. "You have 2 choices. Answer it, or don't. If you answer incorrectly, you'll never be allowed to take the Chunin exams again. If you opt out, you fail this year but can come back next time." An uproar broke out across the room. Ibiki's grin was merciless. "Those are the rules. Decide." Sakura's knuckles went white around her pencil. Sasuke stared at the desk. Tension bled through the atmosphere as some Ms. chose to leave rather than risk the permanent ban. Naruto felt the conflict swirl in his gut, until his old brashness flared to life. "I'm not scared," he said, voice ringing out. "I'll take your stupid question." The system gave him a subtle prompt. "Will save successful." Ibiki regarded him with interest. One by one, others found their resolve. In the end, Ibiki nodded. "Good. Then here's the real truth. There is no 10th question. Or rather, deciding to stay and trust your abilities is the 10th question. Congratulations, you pass." Naruto's jaw dropped. "What the?" Laughter rippled through the hall. Relief spread, though some were just baffled. Ibiki explained the logic behind his psychological warfare, but Naruto barely listened, heart still hammering. "So that was it? They tested Guts' ability to gather intel discreetly. A swirl of smoke erupted near the front. A woman with short purple hair and a mesh bodysuit landed dramatically atop Ibiki's desk. Enough talk, Ibiki. My turn. Ibiki sighed. Everyone, meet Anko Mitarashi, proctor for the second exam. Naruto blinked at Anko. She flashed a predatory grin at the group. All right, maggots, get ready, because you'll wish you'd never passed once you see what I have planned. Afternoon, Forest of Death entry gates. Team 7 gathered before massive iron gates labeled with ominous warning signs. The rest of the hopeful genin teams stood scattered around. Hush settling over them as Anko laid out the rules. Tall fences cordoned off a sprawling expanse of dense foliage known as the Forest of Death. Anko handed each team a scroll, either heaven or earth. Your mission, she explained, is to survive 5 days in the forest and collect the opposite scroll. Only teams holding both scrolls at the tower in the center will advance. And try not to die in there. We're not big on retrieving bodies. Nervous murmurs passed through the crowd. Sakura swallowed. 5 days, that's a lot of time for ambushes. Naruto clenched his fists. We'll be fine. Anko's grin widened. But before that, she whipped out a stack of forms. Sign these liability waivers. I'm not responsible if you get disemboweled. Her tone was gleefully dark. Naruto scribbled his name, feeling a trickle of sweat at his temple. The forest behind those gates looked foreboding, an endless maze of monstrous beasts and lurking enemies. But a curve of memory surfaced. He'd faced Zabuza, he'd tapped into the Kyuubi's power. He could handle this. The system chimed with a new quest. Survive the Forest of Death reward. He grinned. Bring it on. Inside the forest, a horn blast signaled the start. Gates rattled open, and the teams streamed in at different points. Instantly, the thick canopy swallowed them in gloom. The air hung heavy with scent of damp earth and rotting vegetation. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura bounded across tangled roots, scanning for threats. They had an earth scroll in hand, needing a heaven scroll to progress. The plan was to find an isolated spot to set traps, pick off an unsuspecting team, and keep moving. Sakura's eyes flickered nervously. We should watch out for illusions or shapeshifters. There are too many ways to trick us. Naruto nodded, recalling lessons from the Wave mission. Right, keep your wits about you. But it didn't take long for trouble to find them. Less than an hour in, they paused near a clearing to check their bearings. A sudden gust of wind rippled the foliage. Naruto's system pinged. Warning. Hostile intent detected. He spun around. A giant snake burst through the undergrowth, fangs bared. Easily large enough to swallow a human whole. Sakura screamed. Sasuke jerked out a kunai, but the serpent lunged with lightning speed. Naruto's reflexes, honed by the gamer interface, kicked in. He formed a quick wind-laced kunai toss, slicing across the snake's flank. It hissed, thrashing around. Sasuke leapt, delivering a flaming punch to the creature's side. The snake convulsed, then collapsed with a final hiss. Sakura stared at the blood-soaked ground. That was too big. This forest is insane. Naruto scanned the trees warily. We should keep moving. Others might have heard the commotion. They pressed on, adrenaline coursing. Elsewhere in the forest, in the shadows, a tall figure with pale skin and snake-like eyes observed them through parted leaves. Orochimaru. His lips curved into a sly smile. The Nine-Tails boy, the Uchiha, perfect specimens for my interests. He weaved a few hand seals, summoning more serpents deeper within the forest. Let's test them further. Let's see if the rumors about that blonde brat are true, that he wields some unusual power. Orochimaru's serpent slithered off, carrying out his will. Team 7's paw. Tensions rose as they trekked deeper. Each crackle of leaves put them on edge. The thick canopy blocked out most sunlight, making it difficult to gauge time. After an hour of uneasy wandering, they took refuge in a small hollow at the base of a massive tree. They agreed on rotating watch shifts. While Sasuke scouted the perimeter, Naruto fiddled with his system, scanning skill descriptions. Sakura chewed her lip. Any sign of enemy teams? Naruto shook his head. Not yet, but we can't relax. She glanced at him, eyes lingering. Naruto, is everything okay? He caught her concern. Yeah, just thinking. We've come so far from chasing a rogue cat for AD rank, huh? Her lips curved faintly. No kidding. Just be careful. We need you in one piece, knucklehead. Despite her usual teasing tone, Naruto sensed genuine worry. He gave her a reassuring smile. Don't sweat it, Sakura. They heard a rustle overhead. Sasuke dropped into the hollow, brow furrowed. Thought I saw a figure in the distance, but they vanished. Naruto tensed. Then we should move. Ambush. Not 15 minutes later, as they navigated a winding path by a swampy area, the air turned abruptly cold. Mist swirled, reminiscent of the land of waves. Sasuke halted, eyes darting. Genjutsu. Naruto's heart pounded. The system recognized illusions but displayed no specific notification. That was unusual. Then a powerful gust of wind whipped the clearing, knocking Sakura off her feet. Naruto grabbed her hand before she slammed into a tree. A shadowy silhouette descended with unnatural grace. Long hair, an eerie face twisted in a sinister smile. My, the figure purred. Aren't you adorable? So jumpy and yet so ripe for the picking. Something about this presence made Naruto's skin crawl. His system hammered an alarm. Extreme danger. S-rank chakra signature. He gulped. Sasuke's features went stony, Sharingan spinning. The stranger wore a grass headband, but everything about them screamed wrong. Sakura shivered, trying to remain steady. The figure's voice turned mocking. Give me a good show, children. Naruto's pulse thundered in his ears. Who are you? They responded with a flicker of their tongue, serpentine-like. A wave of killing intent crushed the air, freezing Team 7 in place. Naruto felt ice form in his veins. Sakura nearly collapsed, eyes wide with terror. Sasuke grit his teeth, body trembling, as if every cell was screaming to run. Even Naruto, with the system's help, struggled not to buckle under the oppressive aura. Focus. Breathe, Naruto reminded himself. He forced a bit of the Kyuubi ki to flicker. The red chakra dampened the killing intent slightly, letting him exhale. His eyes narrowed. Back off, he growled. The stranger's grin widened. Oh, such interesting chakra you have. This game will be delightful. Without warning, the figure lunged. Sasuke raised a kunai, but the grass nin easily slipped behind him, slamming a fist into his back. Sasuke crashed into the ground, gasping. Sakura rushed to help, only to be knocked aside as well. Naruto's red aura flared. He dashed forward, forming half a dozen clones to swarm the enemy. The cloaked figure snickered, weaving around them like a graceful specter. Each lone was dismantled with lethal precision, puffing out of existence in smoky bursts. Such raw potential. Naruto Uzumaki, the figure hissed. But untamed. Let me show you. Fear. Before Naruto could react, a pale hand clamped around his throat. He choked, the Kyuubi's chakra flaring in protest. The system beeped frantically. Warning. Physical overpower detected. He tried to wrest free, but the enemy's strength was monstrous. They pinned him against a tree trunk, mouth splitting into an unholy grin. A flick of their free hand sent a blast of wind that pinned Sakura and Sasuke to the ground. Naruto's vision blurred. The stranger leaned in close, their voice a poisonous whisper. You interest me more than the Uchiha. Let's see what secrets lie within you. He felt an alien surge of chakra pressing at his seal, prodding at the Kyuubi's cage. Pain shot through him. The nine tails roared in the back of his mind, swirling malevolent energy that threatened to spill out uncontrollably. With a desperate cry, Naruto channeled every drop of demonic chakra he could. A red wave exploded around him, forcing the figure to recoil slightly. For an instant, Naruto dropped to the ground, gasping for air. The enemy licked their lips. Oh, that power. You've only skimmed the surface. One day, boy, we'll meet again, and I'll devour all that you have. Naruto forced his gaze upward, teeth bared. Who are you? The figure's face warped, revealing golden snake-like eyes. Orochimaru, came the soft reply. Then Orochimaru turned from Naruto to Sasuke, who still lay stunned. Gripping Sasuke's jaw, Orochimaru channeled a vile technique, biting down at the junction of Sasuke's neck. Sasuke let out a strangled scream. A black mark flared, spreading across his skin. Sakura shrieked. No. Naruto, reeling from pain, tried to stand. Orochimaru stepped back, letting Sasuke collapse in agony. Enjoy my little gift, Uchiha. Survive, if you can. Then, in a swirl of leaves, Orochimaru vanished. Silence fell, broken only by Sasuke's ragged gasps. Naruto staggered over, dread coiling in his belly. Black Tomo-like marks slithered around Sasuke's shoulder and neck. Sakura pressed her hands to his forehead, tears gathering. He's burning up. Quote, Naruto's vision danced with swirling darkness. The Kyuubi's chakra receded, leaving him shaky. He dropped to his knees, ignoring the system's frantic notifications. Severe injury. Chakra reserves 20%. He forced himself to focus on Sasuke's tortured face. We have to get somewhere safe, he rasped. Sakura wiped her eyes and nodded. She created a few basic illusions in the area to mask them. Then they found a hollow tree trunk. Naruto summoned 2 clones to carry Sasuke inside. Once they were hidden, Sakura did what little first aid she could. Naruto kept watch, mind racing. What the hell just happened? He whispered, knuckles white. That S-rank fiend had singled them out so easily. How did Orochimaru even sneak in? Sakura sniffled, controlling her panic. I don't know, but Sasuke's in no shape to fight. That mark, it looks cursed. Naruto stared at Sasuke's sweat-soaked brow, the black pattern creeping around his collarbone. He recalled rumors about the snake Sannin, one of the legendary 3. They never mentioned anything about insane infiltration or biting curses in the exam. But Orochimaru was real and terrifying. The system offered no immediate solution. Naruto felt rage simmer in his gut. No cheat code or level up had prepared him for that. Hours of tension. They decided to weather the night in that hollow, battered and on guard. Outside, distant roars of giant creatures and the occasional scream told them that other fights raged across the forest. Naruto dozed in short, fitful bursts, haunted by Orochimaru's mocking grin. He also worried about the new meltdown of Kyuubi's chakra inside him. That infiltration attempt at his seal, what was Orochimaru trying to do? By sunrise, Sasuke stirred, eyes fluttering open. Sweat matted his hair. Sakura leapt to his side. Sasuke, are you okay? He groaned, trying to sit up. A wave of pain made him grit his teeth. That freak bit me, he hissed. Naruto exhaled in relief that Sasuke was awake at least. How's the mark? Sasuke yanked down his collar, revealing sinister black lines. They pulsed faintly, then receded into a single point on his neck. He shuddered, wiping cold sweat from his face. It burns. Sakura bit her lip. We have to find a med nin or get out. This exam isn't worth dying. But Sasuke looked them in the eye, a flicker of determination amidst the fear. No, I won't quit. That bastard singled me out. I have to prove I'm not afraid. Naruto felt a swell of respect if maybe a bit of alarm. Fine. Then we push on. They slowly gathered themselves. Though Sasuke was weak, he insisted on moving. The tower was still somewhere in the center of this monstrous forest, and they still only had 1 scroll. If they wanted to pass, they needed to fight at L. East one more team for their missing scroll. Battle for the scroll. Despite Sasuke's condition, Team 7 pressed forward. 2 more days passed in a blur of minor skirmishes with giant insects, illusions cast by rival genin, and tense hunts for a second scroll. The trio took turns carrying Sasuke or letting him rest, but to everyone's surprise, Sasuke still managed bursts of ferocious skill when push. Almost as if the curse mark fed him energy. On the 3rd day, they finally got wind of an approaching group from the hidden rain. The rain team was battered, but they clutched a heaven scroll. That was Team 7's ticket. Naruto set a trap, a ring of disguised clones to box the rain nin into a clearing. Sasuke planned the assault, voice hoarse but determined. Sakura stood ready with kunai and illusions to confuse the enemy. For the first time since Orochimaru's attack, they felt the synergy they'd honed in Wave Country returning. The rain nin fell for the bait, stumbling into the clearing. Ale of shuriken from Sasuke forced them to scatter. Sakura conjured illusions of giant serpents, capitalizing on their heightened fear of the forest's real beasts. Panicking, one rain shinobi lost focus, letting Naruto's clones swarm him from behind. Naruto pinned him with a heavy blow, grabbing the heaven scroll from his vest. Their leader tried to fight back with a water whip jutsu, but Sasuke's lashed through it using a flicker of the black curse mark's power, eyes glowing with an unsettling aura. The Rain Nin recoiled in horror, and soon the entire team was subdued. Team 7 retrieved the scroll, leaving the battered Rain Nin behind. They didn't linger to gloat. The moment they had both scrolls, they resumed the trek to the tower. Sasuke's breathing was ragged, the curse mark receding once more. Sakura kept him steady. Naruto took point, scanning for any last ambush. Arrival at the tower. By the morning of the 5th day, they reached a massive building rising out of the trees and impose ing structure that served as the exam's checkpoint. Multiple entrances lined the perimeter, but only a few teams had managed to get this far, judging by the silence. They slipped inside cautiously. A wide atrium stretched under fluorescent lights. Teams that arrived earlier were milling around, some wounded, some smug. A proctor directed them deeper to a set of large doors. Open your scrolls inside, he instructed. No fighting in the tower. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura exchanged a breath of relief. They were exhausted, filthy, covered in cuts and bruises but alive. With matching scrolls in hand, they pushed open the doors. The moment they unsealed the scrolls, a puff of smoke revealed Iruka-sensei standing before them, beaming with pride. Congratulations, Team 7. You've passed the second exam. Naruto let out a whoop, ignoring the stares of other teams in the hall. The system chimed. Forest of Death completed plus 2000 XP. He was about to check the details when Sasuke suddenly wobbled, wincing. Sakura steadied him, alarmed. Iruka's eyes widened. Sasuke. That mark, what happened in there? Kakashi materialized from behind Iruka, expression grim. I heard rumors. Let me handle this. He knelt by Sasuke, carefully examining the curse seal. Sasuke tried to jerk away, but Kakashi's voice was gentle. Hold still. We need to suppress it. Naruto tensed, remembering Orochimaru's menacing presence. Will he be okay? Kakashi didn't answer immediately. He placed a talisman on Sasuke's mark, channeling a sealing technique. Sasuke grit his teeth as black lines flared, then retracted. With a final surge of chakra, the mark quieted, settling into a small pattern. Sasuke slumped, relief flooding his features. Kakashi exhaled. That'll hold for now, but this is serious. Orochimaru's infiltration of the exam is a grave threat. The Hokage is aware, but we can't call off the test yet. Too much is at stake politically. Sakura trembled with anger. They're letting it continue despite that monster roaming around. Kakashi's face hardened. Orders from above. We can't show weakness to the other nations. Orochimaru is an S-rank criminal, yes, but we must proceed carefully. In the meantime, I'll ensure Sasuke sees a medic. You two rest and be ready for the third exam if it happens. Naruto clenched his fists. The idea of facing Orochimaru again sent a chill through him, but also ignited a fierce determination. We'll get stronger. We have to. Kakashi nodded. Exactly. Exam break period. They were given a few days to recuperate while the second exam's results were tallied. Of the many teams that entered, only 9 survived with both scrolls. Among them were the Sand Trio Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro and the Leaf squads of Kiba, Hinata, Shino, plus Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino. Rock Lee's team also made it, along with a few lesser-known squads from other villages. In a side corridor, Naruto caught up with Hinata, who hovered near a vending machine. She spotted him and flinched shyly. Naruto-kun, I heard you ran into trouble in the forest. He rubbed the back of his neck, recalling Orochimaru's terrifying power. Yeah, it was rough. But we made it. Are you okay? She nodded, offering a tentative smile. Our team did all right. Kurenai-sensei taught us strategies to handle illusions. That helped. Then her eyes shifted nervously. I wanted to say, I'm glad you're safe. Naruto felt a quiet warmth, remembering all the chaos in his life. Tsunami's gentleness, Ayame's friendly banter, and now Hinata's sweet concern. He stepped closer, letting sincerity show in his voice. Thanks, Hinata. It means a lot that you worry. She blushed, fumbling with her hands, but didn't look away. He considered leaning in, maybe even hugging her. But the hallway was busy with passing shinobi. Instead, he simply gave her a light pat on the shoulder and a wink that made her flush redder. The system flickered. Hinata affection +2. He almost laughed. The emotional swirl in his chest felt bigger than any mere affection meter. Meanwhile, Sasuke was sequestered in a medical room. Kakashi's seal had stabilized his curse mark, but the medics warned that any emotional spike could trigger a relapse. Sasuke seethed, pacing as far as the cramped space allowed. When Naruto and Sakura checked on him, he greeted them with a glare. "Don't baby me, I'm fine." Sakura folded her arms. "You nearly died, you jerk. Can't we worry for you?" He exhaled sharply, though his eyes flicked to Naruto with a question unspoken. "Are you all right?" Naruto nodded. "Yeah, we just want to make sure you're ready for the next exam." Sasuke's expression hardened. "I will be, Orochimaru or not." A flicker of determination overshadowed the fear. For better or worse, the curse mark had awakened a new hunger in him. Prelims. On the final day of rest, the survivors gathered in a large stadium-like hall. The Hokage stood on a balcony with other village officials. Once everyone assembled, a proctor named Hayate Pale Perpetual Cough stepped forward. "Congratulations on passing the second exam," Hayate said in a raspy voice. "We had many casualties, but 9 teams remain. However, that number is too high for the final stage. Thus, we'll hold preliminary matches now." Groans and anxious whispers echoed. Some teams looked battered. Others, like Gaara's squad, seemed eerily calm. Naruto's blood pumped with adrenaline, itching for a real fight. Sasuke stood at his side, expression unreadable, a glimmer of that curse mark hidden by his collar. A digital scoreboard flickered overhead, listing names. The first match: Sasuke Uchiha vs. Yoroi Akato. The rest were told to wait on the upper balcony. Sasuke's face tightened. Perfect. Let's get this over with. He headed down to the arena floor, ignoring Kakashi's worried call. Naruto exchanged a tense look with Sakura. "He's so stubborn," she sighed. "I just hope that mark doesn't flare up." The match began. Yoroi boasted a chakra-absorbing ability, draining Sasuke's energy with each grapple. Sasuke struggled, his curse mark itching. But in a flash of cunning, he channeled the last bits of his chakra into a new taijutsu combo remini. Scent of Rock Lee's style he'd gleaned moves from their forest encounter. A savage blow to Yoroi's chest knocked him out cold. Sasuke won, but sank to one knee afterward, panting. The proctors declared his victory. Kakashi immediately whisked Sasuke away, presumably to seal his curse mark again. Naruto felt relief and worry entwine. More matches ensued in rapid succession. Shino Aburame overcame Ie Sound Nin with his chakra-eating bugs. Konkuro from Suna used hidden puppet tricks to secure a swift victory. Ino and Sakura faced each other, culminating in a draw that eliminated both, leaving them battered but ironically closer as friends. Hinata encountered Neji Hyuga, her own cousin, in a heartbreaking match that ended with Hinata severely injured. Naruto nearly jumped in from the balcony when Neji tried to crush her spirit, but the proctors stopped him. By the time Naruto's turn arrived, tension thrummed. The board flickered. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Hiba Inuzuka. Hiba leapt to the arena floor with his dog Akamaru, eyes gleaming. "Hey, this'll be fun, Naruto." Naruto hopped down, heart racing with excitement. He shot Kiba a grin. "I've got some new tricks." Kiba smirked. "Bring it on, loudmouth. Let's see how tough you really are." Naruto vs. Kiba. The proctor signaled the start. Kiba wasted no time, dropping to all fours, a transformation jutsu turning Akamaru into a clone of himself. They rushed Naruto with fang over fang, spinning violently. Naruto dashed aside, forming shadow clones to confuse them. The two Kibas tore through clones, puffs of smoke filling the arena. The real Naruto leapt overhead, flinging wind-laced kunai. Kiba batted them aside, grinning. Too slow. Naruto landed, panting. "He's fast." The system offered a tip. Exploit Kiba's keen sense of smell. Naruto smirked, recalling an old trick. He rummaged in his pouch, pulling out a small pellet. Smoke bomb. Nah, something more cunning. As Kiba and Akamaru lunged again, Naruto popped the pellet, unleashing a pungent odor that made Kiba recoil mid-strike. What is that? Momentary distraction gave Naruto an opening. He slammed a fist into Kiba's gut, sending him sprawling. Akamaru landed nearby, shaking off the stench. The audience murmured in amusement. Even the Hokage seemed mildly entertained. Kiba coughed, eye-watering. You dirty. Naruto pressed the advantage with shadow clones, poised to strike from a different angle. Kiba whipped around, fangs bared, managing to disperse a few clones. But Naruto's real body slipped in under his guard, delivering a wind-augmented kick that rattled Kiba's ribs. Akamaru tried to defend, but Naruto set off another small bomb that stunned the dog as well. Kiba staggered, breathless. He mustered one last fang over fang, but it lacked precision. Naruto met it head-on with a swirling orb of wind chakra. He'd been practicing a half-formed technique that slammed Kiba into the dirt. The crowd gasped at the raw power. Kiba didn't get back up. The proctor raised a hand. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. Thunderous cheers erupted. Naruto exhaled, heart drumming with triumphant energy. He offered Kiba a hand, and the battered boy took it reluctantly, grumbling, "Damn you, Naruto." Good match. Naruto only grinned. Final prelim matches. Rock Lee faced Gaara in a brutal showdown. Lee's speed and taijutsu dazzled everyone, but Gaara's sand defense proved impenetrable. Ultimately, Gaara crushed Lee's leg and arm in a horrifying display, leaving him unconscious. Even Naruto cringed at the spectacle. That red-haired Suna boy seemed monstrous in his own right, someone who mirrored Naruto's loneliness but twisted it into cruelty. With the prelims done, the remaining winners gathered for official announcements. The Hokage commended their efforts. You'll each have 1 month to train before the final stage. Use the time well. He listed the final matchups. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga, Sasuke Uchiha vs. Gaara, Shino Aburame vs. Kankuro, Temari vs. Shikamaru, and so forth. To fill the bracket for the finals, Naruto glanced at Neji, the Hyuga prodigy who had cruelly dominated Hinata. He felt anger spark. "I'll show him." Quiet hallway after the prelims. As the crowds dispersed, Naruto found himself approached by an unexpected visitor, the robed figure who had been watching him in his nightmares. But this time, they appeared as a simple leaf shinobi. Though Naruto instantly recognized the faint flicker of the system's hostility detection. He froze. "You." The figure's voice was low, mocking. "We meet at last, child of the gamer system. You're growing strong, but we've only begun our test." Naruto's breath hitched. "Who are you? Are you working with Orochimaru?" A hollow laugh echoed. "Orochimaru is a means to an end. Keep unlocking your cheat codes, Naruto Uzumaki. Eventually, we'll see if you stand among gods." Before Naruto could react, the figure vanished, leaving only the swirl of dust. He felt a chill coil in his stomach. Another enemy, or someone orchestrating all this. His system beeped with an updated objective. Hidden quest. Convergence. Unknown watchers continued to observe. Survive the Chunin finals, and endure the next trial. Naruto clenched his fists. He was done being a pawn. Whatever the gamer system was, he'd master it on his own terms. 1 month before the finals, the winners were dismissed for a month to train and prepare. Sasuke left with Kakashi for special training. Sakura dedicated herself to surpassing her limitations, though she hadn't made the finals. Hinata recovered from her injuries, receiving well wishes from Naruto. Kiba sulked, vowing revenge next time. Naruto, determined to find a real edge, decided to approach someone rumored to be an expert at advanced ninjutsu. That led him to the outskirts of the village, where he stumbled upon a certain white-haired sage peeping at the women's hot springs. "Hey, old man, are you Jiraiya?" Naruto blurted. The man froze, then whirled around. "Who the hell are you calling old man? I'm the Toad Sage, Jiraiya the Gallant." He struck a ridiculous pose. Naruto folded his arms. "I heard you're strong. I need training before the finals. Think you can help me?" Jiraiya raised a brow, scanning Naruto. "You're that Nine-Tails brat, right? Hiruzen told me about you. Something about a gamer ability." Naruto stiffened. "You, no." Jiraiya grinned widely. "I know more than you think. I've studied seals, including the one on your stomach. That's all connected, kid." He eyed Naruto's determined stance. "All right, maybe I'll teach you a thing or two, if you let me do some research, in peace now and then." Naruto didn't love the idea of enabling a super pervert, but he'd do anything to get stronger. He nodded firmly. "Deal." Training with Jiraiya, Over the next week, Jiraiya discovered the remnants of Orochimaru's tampering with Naruto's seal. That snake bastard tried messing with your fox's cage. Nasty stuff. Let me fix it. They sat by a creek, Jiraiya pressing an intricate seal around Naruto's stomach. A pulse of warmth spread, relieving an invisible pressure. The system immediately glowed. Seal repaired. Kyuubi ki enhanced. Naruto felt a deeper sense of control over the Nine Tails chakra. This is amazing, he murmured, flexing his hands. The red aura flickered to life, then retreated smoothly when he willed it. Jiraiya nodded in approval. All right, brat. That's step 1. Now we'll refine your chakra control further. Also, I sense you might be able to handle summoning jutsu. He clapped Naruto's shoulder. You're full of surprises. Let's see if you can handle toads. Summoning. Naruto recalled the final stage of the canon. Summoning was a big deal. He signed the toad contract under Jiraiya's guidance. The first attempts were comically small toadlets. But each day, he improved, drawing on the Kyuubi's reserves for the bigger leaps. Meanwhile, the system soared with new skills. Summoning toads LV1. Requires high chakra. Summon gamma creatures for combat. The biggest challenge was balancing the Nine Tails chakra with the summoning technique. Too little, he got puny toads. Too much, he risked losing control. Jiraiya hammered him with harsh regimen, climbing mountains with toads strapped to his back, practicing summoning midair, even sparring with a giant amphibian in a secluded training ground. Between sessions, Naruto occasionally snuck back into the village, seeing Ayame at Ichiraku or checking on Hinata's recovery at the hospital. Each visit felt like a small reprieve from Jiraiya's brutal drills. He didn't push the romance angle too hard, but he made sure to show them both affection when time allowed. The system pinged occasionally, but he ignored it. This was about genuine care, not numbers. He tried to remain calm about Tsunami, who was miles away in Wave Country. A few short letters came by Messenger Hawk, each with heartfelt thanks. He'd respond with cheerful updates, aving out the darker details of Orochimaru. No need to worry her. Sasuke's paw. Across the village, Sasuke sweated under Kakashi's watchful eye. They practiced a high-level Chidori technique, an intense form of lightning manipulation. Each attempt left Sasuke gasping for air, the curse mark itching under the ceiling formula. The urge to rely on that dark power gnawed at him, but Kakashi's stern war. Nings kept him in line most of the time. One late evening, Sasuke grimaced at the memory of Orochimaru's mocking voice. I won't be a pawn, he growled, letting lightning crackle around his palm. I'll destroy anyone who tries to control me. Kakashi watched from a distance, concern etched on his face. 1 month later, final stage arena. The day finally arrived. The grand stadium was packed with spectators from various nations. Even the daimyo and other high lords attended. Banners whipped in the breeze. The tension was electric. Naruto stood in the competitor's box, scanning the stands. He spotted familiar faces. Sakura cheering with Ino, who had her hair in a high ponytail. Shikamaru, waiting for his own match, yawned on a nearby bench. Hinata sat wrapped in bandages, giving him a hopeful wave. Naruto lifted a hand in greeting, heartwarming. He eyed the bracket. His match against Neji Hyuga was first. He replayed the image of Neji brutally humiliating Hinata. Determination kindled like a flame. I'm winning this, he muttered. Neji stepped into the arena floor, expression stoic. Naruto followed, letting the crowd's roar wash over him. The proctor explained the rules. No interference. Match continues until surrender or incapacitation. Naruto crouched in a fighting stance. The system whirred in his peripheral vision, loaded with every skill he'd sharpened. Neji gave him a cold look. Destiny can't be changed. You're fated to lose. Naruto's eyes narrowed. I'll prove you wrong. End of chapter 4. In that moment, as the crowd chanted for the fight to begin, Naruto felt the weight of everything: his bond with Hinata, the swirling thread of Orochimaru, the robed figure's cryptic taunts, the blossoming ties to Tsunami and Ayame. The finals loomed, set to be a clash of raw determination and monstrous power. And amid that chaos, the gamer system pulsed with promise, cheat codes still waiting to be fully unlocked. The proctor raised his arm. Neji tensed, Byakugan activated. Naruto's heart pounded with a fierce, unwavering resolve, the red-hot throb of the Kyuubi's chakra at his fingertips. He would rise above fear, past the shackles of fate. Because he was Naruto Uzumaki the gamer. The next apex shinobi ready to claim victory against any foe who dared stand in his way. Chapter 5. Clash of Realities. The midday sun hung high over the packed stadium. A low roar of anticipation rippled through the crowds. High on the stands, feudal lords, clan heads, and countless spectators sat enthralled, waiting for the next match in the Chunin exam finals. Banners bearing VAR, IOUS village symbols flapped in a gentle breeze. This was a day of pride and drama for every hidden village. But for Naruto Uzumaki, it was a battlefield where he had something to prove to his village, to his friends, and most of all to himself. He stood in the arena's center, scanning the ring of cheering onlookers. His pulse pounded, half from excitement, half from the knowledge that these exams weren't just about personal glory. Dark threats loomed behind the scenes. Orochimaru's infiltration, that robed figure who had confronted him in secret, the chilling new tension swirling around Sasuke's curse mark. And yet, a tingle of exhilaration ran through Naruto's veins. After weeks of training under Jiraiya, after repairing the seal on the Nine Tails, he was ready to test himself against the strongest foes. 1. Naruto vs. Neji. Duel of Fates. A hush fell as the proctor stepped forward. He called out in a clear voice, "Final stage match 1, Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga." Across the arena, Neji stepped from a shadowed archway. He wore a calm expression, but his pale eyes gleamed with the activated Byakugan. Naruto advanced, recalling the memory of Hinata's brutal defeat at Neji's hands. A protective anger churned in his gut. They stopped a few yards apart, the hot sun baking the dusty ground beneath them. A breeze stirred the tension. In the stands, Hinata watched anxiously, still nursing her injuries. Her bandaged arms clutched the railing, heart pounding. Nearby, Sakura, Ino, Shikamaru, and the rest of the finalists observed with rapt focus. The proctor lifted an arm. "Begin." Neji shifted fluidly into a gentle fist stance, voice cold. "You should have quit before you stepped into the ring." Defying fate is futile. Naruto forced a grin, swirling with adrenaline. "Yeah, well, watch me rewrite fate, genius." They charged. Neji's palms glowed with condensed chakra, each strike aimed at Naruto's tenketsu points. Naruto, though not as expert in taijutsu as a Hyuga, had sharpened his reflexes significantly. He used short bursts of the Nine Tails chakra tempered by Jiraiya's seal repair to dodge or parry Neji's needle-like jabs. Within moments, the ring echoed with the crack and thud of flesh hitting flesh. When Neji's palm grazed Naruto's forearm, Naruto felt a brief numbness shoot through his limb. He spun away, forming a shadow clone to buy time. The clone lunged for Neji's blind spot. Neji met the clone's fist with a precise palm thrust. A shockwave of chakra shattered the clone in a puff of smoke. "You can't beat me with brute force," Neji intoned. "I see through your every move." Naruto exhaled, pressing a hand to the ground. "Maybe you see through the old me." With a sharp inhale, he summoned a swirl of wind chakra around his palms, an embryonic technique he'd been perfecting with Jiraiya. It wasn't as refined as the Rasengan, but it had power. Neji's eyes narrowed. He executed the heavenly rotation, spinning in place and unleashing a dome of whirling chakra. Naruto recognized the technique from the stands during Hinata's match. "He's unstoppable in that stance, unless I break his momentum." Heart hammering, Naruto formed 4 clones, each leaping from a different angle. Neji spun again, sending arcs of intangible force that blasted the clones apart. But Naruto's real body slipped in from above, wind-laced chakra at his fingertips. He roared, driving the swirling force downward. Neji reacted with lightning speed, raising both palms. For a heartbeat, a furious clash of chakra lit the arena. Dust and debris shot outward in a ring. Spectators shielded their faces. When the smoke cleared, both combatants stood panting. Neji's sleeve was torn, a shallow gash bleeding on his arm. Naruto's shirt was ripped across the torso, fresh bruises marking his ribs. But he grinned through the pain, adrenaline singing in his veins. Neji scowled, but a flicker of grudging respect shone in his eyes. "You're stronger than I expected." Naruto wiped sweat from his brow. Ignoring the dull ache. "You bet. And I'm not done." Neji's Byakugan flared. Then this ends now. He lunged with a terrifying surge of speed, thrusting a palm at Naruto's chest. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. A blur of strikes hammered Naruto's torso and arms. Each blow sealed chakra points, sending him staggering. The crowd gasped as Naruto crumpled to one knee. Neji concluded the assault, voice echoing across the silent stadium. Your chakra flow is sealed. You can't continue. For a moment, Naruto's limbs felt leaden. His vision wavered. The system beeped in his peripheral. Alert. Chakra points blocked. Attempting reset. Then, a furious swirl of red bubbled inside him. The 9 tails roared in the depths of his mind, responding to the threat. Naruto clenched his fists, forced the demonic power to surge through his sealed chakra coils. A burning sensation coursed through every muscle, reactivating blocked tenketsu with raw force. Neji's eyes widened. Impossible. Naruto sprang up, crimson aura dancing around him. In a single, swift motion, he launched a savage uppercut. Neji tried to block, but the demon-laced blow shattered his guard. The Hyuga prodigy soared backward, colliding with the arena wall. Dust plumed. Shocked silence gripped the stadium. Panting, Naruto shook off the stinging in his fists. I told you, I'm not losing. Neji slid to the ground, struggling to stand. Blood trickled from his lip. His Byakugan flickered, half-lidded from impact. He attempted to move forward, but his knees buckled. At last, he collapsed. The proctor approached, kneeling by Neji's side. After a moment, he raised his hand. Neji Hyuga is unable to continue. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. A thunderous cheer erupted. In the stands, Sakura whooped, Ino clapped fiercely. And Hinata breathed a tearful sigh of relief. Naruto pressed a hand to his throbbing chest, a wild grin lighting his face. He walked over, offering a hand to Neji. The proud Hyuga stared at it in stunned silence. Then slowly accepted. Naruto leaned in, voice low. Destiny doesn't decide who I am or who you can be, either. For the first time, Neji's gaze wavered with humility. You won. I understand now. 2. Shadows of Treachery. While medical nin tended to Neji, Naruto trudged back to the corridor reserved for finalists. His body felt battered, but his heart soared with victory. In the hallway, Jiraiya gave him a toothy grin. Nice job, brat. You used that demon chakra well, but be careful. Naruto nodded, though inside he felt a twinge of worry. Over-reliance on the fox's power was dangerous. But he reminded himself, I have the system. I can handle this. He sank onto a bench, gulping from a water flask. The next matches played out on the stadium floor, broadcast by roars and gasps from the crowd. Shikamaru's cunning defeated Temari in a surprising checkmate, though he surrendered out of laziness a moment later. Kankuro overcame Shino in a puppet vs. Bugs showdown. Throughout, Naruto's mind drifted. A new window in his system glowed. Cheat code. Chakra reset, unlocked. Allows forced purging of blocked tenketsu or negative status once per day. So that was how he overcame Neji's palm strikes. He gave a wry smile. Thanks, system. Suddenly, commotion erupted. Looking up, Naruto sensed a spike of hostile chakra from outside the hallway's arch. A swirl of violent RGY like a vortex shuddered the entire stadium. A roar from the crowd signaled a new match. Sasuke Uchiha vs. Gaara of the Sand. Naruto scrambled to the arena's edge to watch. Below, Sasuke and Gaara faced each other. Gaara's gourd was crumbling into swirling grains of sand that circled him like a living shield. Sasuke stood tensely, black hair ruffling in the wind, the faint mark on his neck hidden by bandages. The proctor set them off. Without hesitation, Sasuke attacked. Sparks of lightning crackled around his fists. Naruto recognized the Chidori that Kakashi had taught him. Sasuke lunged with insane speed. His new training evident. Gaara's sand lunged to defend, but Sasuke's Chidori tore a violent gash through it, slicing into Gaara's shoulder. Gaara howled, reeling back. Something monstrous flickered in his eyes like a feral beast awakened by pain. The air twisted with malevolent chakra. A wave of sand erupted outward, lashing at the arena floor, forming a demonic shape around Gaara's torso. Naruto's stomach knotted. Gaara. He's like me, a Jinchuriki. A manic laugh escaped Gaara's lips. Mother wants your blood. The crowd fell into stunned silence. Then the sky above the stadium darkened unnaturally. Naruto tensed. Something bigger was happening. He recognized the swirl of illusions overhead. A genjutsu to put the spectators to sleep. Near the cage's viewing box, more chaos erupted. Shinobi in sound and sand uniforms leapt into action. The final stage was no longer just an exam, it was the beginning of an invasion. 3. Invasion. Before the proctors could react, an explosion rocked the upper stands. Screams from the civilians rang out. Leaf Shinobi tried to rally, but waves of hidden sound nin poured in, lobbing smoke bombs and unleashing destructive jutsu. From the corner of his eye, Naruto saw the third Hokage on the rooftop with an imposter disguised as the cage, only it had to be Orochimaru. They vanished behind a shimmering barrier. Leaf Anbu rushed in vain to assist. Blocked by an impenetrable wall of purple flame, Sasuke stood in the arena, panting, eyes locked on Gaara. Gaara cackled, sand swirling into a half-formed monstrous arm. Let's finish this. He leapt away from the stadium, bounding over the walls, presumably to a more isolated location. Sasuke gave chase without hesitation. Naruto gritted his teeth. Idiot, he's walking into a trap. A swirl of wind hammered the stadium grounds, stirring up dust. Kakashi appeared beside Naruto, face grim under his mask. Naruto, the village is under attack. We can't let that Jinchuriki fully unleash his power. Go after Sasuke. Stop Gaara. Sakura is already with the group trying to contain the chaos. I have to coordinate the defenses here. Naruto inhaled, adrenaline spiking. He's trusting me with this. Right, I'm on it. He dashed off, weaving through rubble and scattered illusions as pandemonium raged. He vaulted the stadium walls, sprinting through the outer corridors where unconscious civilians slumped under the mass genjutsu. The further he went, the more the roars of battle faded, replaced by a tense hush. At the forested outskirts, he glimpsed Sasuke's footprints, partly scuffed by swirling sand. He followed, senses on high alert. 4. Gaara's awakening. He found them in a clearing dotted with craggy outcrops. Sasuke was on one knee, battered, a swirl of black marks creeping down his shoulder. Gaara stood nearby, half his body transformed into a beastly sand creature like a miniature Shukaku. Sasuke struggled to ignite the Chidori again, but his chakra sputtered. The curse mark flared with painful pulses. Gaara advanced, sadistic glee in his eyes. You hurt me, he hissed. Now you'll be the sacrifice that sets me free. Naruto rushed in, planting himself between Sasuke and Gaara. That's enough. Gaara, I won't let you kill him. Gaara's monstrous arms swung wide, crashing the ground with a thunderous impact. Naruto shoved Sasuke aside, diving away from the massive blow. Rubble sprayed the clearing. Sasuke coughed, anger blazing in his eyes. Don't step in, Dobi. I can handle this. Naruto shot him a fierce glare. You're half dead already. Just let me help. Gaara roared, sand swirling into the shape of a giant raccoon-like visage. If you get in my way, I'll crush you too, Naruto Uzumaki. You have a demon inside you, right? Then you should understand that I must kill. To prove my existence. Naruto felt the Kyuubi churn in response. Memories of lonely nights and hateful stares rushed through him. He clenched his fists. I know what it's like to be alone. But hurting others isn't the way, Gaara. Gaara didn't listen. He raised a towering sand claw, preparing to smash them both. With a snarl, Naruto summoned a swirl of red chakra. This time, he pressed further into the Nine Tails' power than ever before, but kept a leash on it using Jiraiya's seal adjustments. The demon's strength flooded his limbs. He formed shadow clones, all cloaked in a menacing red aura. They charged, bounding off jagged rocks, swarming Gaara from every side. Gaara roared, lashing out with tendrils of sand that impaled clone after clone. But Naruto's real self slid beneath the monstrous arm, aiming a wind-laced uppercut at Gaara's exposed torso. The blow connected in a crackling explosion. Gaara screamed, reeling back, losing control of the partial Shukaku form. Sand fragments flew in all directions. Sasuke watched in awe, the curse mark thrumming but overshadowed by the raw spectacle of Naruto's power. Yet Gaara refused to fall. Panting, half-transformed, he spat blood. I won't lose, I won't go back to being alone. A savage wave of sand battered Naruto, knocking him onto his back. He gasped, seeing Gaara gather chakra for an even bigger transformation. If he fully unleashes Shukaku, we're done. Sasuke gritted his teeth, forcing himself upright. His Sharingan glowed. Naruto, we have to end this now. Naruto nodded, ignoring the throbbing in his skull. You got enough juice for one more hit. Sasuke let a faint smile twitch. Barely. The two lunged in tandem. Sasuke ignited a desperate flicker of Chidori, crackles of lightning dancing around his battered arm. Naruto gathered the red chakra, forming a swirling mass of wind in his palm, an incomplete Rasengan variant. In a coordinated strike, they drove both attacks into Gaara's monstrous form at once. Lightning and wind tore through the sand shell, blasting a gaping hole. Gaara howled, the Shukaku transformation collapsing in a spray of dust. When the smoke cleared, Gaara lay unconscious in the crater. His sand sank into a lifeless heap around him. Naruto and Sasuke, equally spent, crumpled to the ground. For a few tense seconds, only the rustle of leaves filled the clearing. Then Naruto drew a shaky breath. We did it. Sasuke nodded weakly, eyes drifting shut. We stopped him. Across from them, Gaara stirred, his untransformed face streaked with tears. He gazed at Naruto with a haunted look. No words were exchanged, but something in Gaara's expression hinted he finally saw more than just a monster in Naruto. 5. Return to chaos. Their victory felt short-lived. An enormous plume of smoke rose above the village. Distant echoes of battle rumbled. The invasion was still in full swing. With Sasuke barely conscious, Naruto forced himself to stand, ignoring every scream of protest from his battered muscles. He hauled Sasuke onto his shoulder. We have to get back. Gaara lay still, pain etched into his features. Temari and Kankuro, who had been separated earlier, rushed in from the treeline. They skidded to a halt upon seeing Gaara's condition and Naruto's fierce glare. For a tense moment, nobody moved. Then Kankuro lifted Gaara, eyes flicking warily to Naruto. Temari clenched her jaw. We'll withdraw, she muttered. No point continuing this fight. Naruto simply nodded, too drained to argue. Temari and Kankuro vanished with Gaara, presumably to retreat from the invasion altogether. Naruto trudged through the forest, carrying Sasuke. Each step jolted his injuries, but he gritted his teeth. Come on, just a bit more. When they neared the village walls, Naruto glimpsed pillars of smoke rising from multiple quarters of Konoha. Leaf shinobi engaged pockets of sand and sound enemies in brutal skirmishes. Explosions rattled rooftops. Civilians, freed from the genjutsu by various means, fled or hid among collapsed buildings. At the main gate, a group of Leaf Chunin recognized Naruto, quickly taking Sasuke from him for medical attention. Naruto slumped in relief, every muscle trembling. But the war wasn't over. He spotted pink hair among the rubble, Sakura, kneeling beside a wounded comrade. Her face lit up with relief upon seeing him. Naruto. He stumbled over. You okay? She nodded, eyes shining. Yeah, had to knock out a few sound nin. But the real trouble's at the arena. Something's happening with the Hokage. Naruto's heart clenched. Orochimaru. She bit her lip, glancing up at the swirling barrier overhead. Yes, Kakashi-sensei said no one can breach that barrier. But, maybe you can do something. Naruto hesitated, pain shooting through his chest. He was running on fumes. But the memory of the robed figure telling him that Orochimaru was only a stepping stone, someone was orchestrating all this. He swallowed. Where's Jiraiya? Saku. Ra jerked her chin toward a distant rooftop. He's fighting off giant snakes that the enemy summoned. Trying to protect the village. The whole place is chaotic. Naruto exhaled shakily, mind spinning. He wanted to help the Hokage. But how to get past an impenetrable barrier? The system flickered with a new alert. Cheat code. Reality warp locked. Conditions for unlocking. He cursed under his breath, frustration mounting. If only I had that, but it's locked. 6. Sealing fate. A sudden shockwave emanated from the rooftop where the Hokage and Orochimaru clashed. In the distance, Naruto glimpsed 4 purple pillars of flame trembling. The barrier was collapsing from within. Lightning crackled. Gusts of wind battered the environment, toppling an already damaged watchtower. Debris showered the street. Naruto pulled Sakura aside to avoid falling rubble. Then, like the snap of a cable, the barrier vanished. A hush fell, as if the air itself held its breath. From the rooftop drifted a swirl of dust and golden leaves. Naruto felt something lurch in his chest, a presence fading. An Anbu operative landed near them. He lifted his mask halfway, revealing a pale face twisted with grief. The Third Hokage used a forbidden seal to drag Orochimaru's arms into the Reaper's grasp. Orochimaru escaped, but his arms are dead. The Sandaime, he's gone. Sakura stifled a cry, tears brimming. Naruto's eyes burned. The third Hokage, dead. The infiltration, the illusions, the battles, all culminating in the loss of their leader. Naruto clenched his fists so tightly his nails bit into his palms. For all his power, for all the cheat codes, he hadn't been able to save the Hokage. He forced himself to ask, voice hoarse, what about Orochimaru? The Anbu swallowed, fled, with his sound forces. The sand seems to be withdrawing too. We've driven them off, but the price was high. Naruto stared at the battered village. Flames flickered on collapsed rooftops. Smoke stung his eyes. Even with victory, the cost was immeasurable. 7. Grief and resolve. In the following days, the village reeled from the invasion's aftermath. Memorial services were held for the fallen. Streets once lively were haunted by the smell of ash. Shinobi teams assisted in reconstruction, patching walls, clearing debris, comforting the wounded. A large funeral was arranged for the third Hokage, complete with solemn ceremony. Naruto stood among the crowds, tears unashamedly rolling down his cheeks. He recalled the old man's kindness, the times he gave Naruto extra ramen coupons, the gentle scoldings, the unwavering belief that Naruto could become Hokage one day. Sakura and Sasuke flanked him, equally somber. Sasuke's curse mark was sealed again by Kakashi's efforts, leaving him introspective and withdrawn. Hinata approached Naruto afterward, offering a small bouquet she'd intended to leave at the memorial site. Wordlessly, she pressed it into his hands, eyes brimming with sympathy. He nodded gratefully, heart heavy. That evening, Naruto found himself by the Hokage monument, staring at the carved faces bathed in moonlight. He sat on the cliff edge, knees tucked to his chest, as a gentle wind ruffled his hair. I promised I'd protect everyone, but I couldn't save him. The system hovered in his peripheral vision. Main quest updated. Achieve the Hokage's legacy. Progress. 10%. He bit his lip. Only 10%. It felt like he'd climbed mountains already. Yet the journey had only begun. Footsteps approached. A Yame from Ichiraku Ramen, wearing a light jacket, stepped tentatively closer. She'd been volunteering at the makeshift soup kitchens for displaced families, but had come searching for Naruto. Quietly, she sat beside him, swinging her legs over the edge. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she slipped an arm around his shoulders, drawing him into a gentle side hug. He exhaled shakily, letting her presence ground him. You did everything you could, she murmured. We all know that. He closed his eyes, leaning into the warmth of her embrace. She tilted his chin up, pressing a soft kiss to his temple. Once, the notion of flirting with a Yame had been a playful daydream. Now, in the weight of grief, her comfort felt achingly real. A beep in his interface. A Yame affection +4. He almost chuckled at the incongruity grief swirling in his chest while the system tallied affection points. But he welcomed the solace all the same. 8. The aftermath of the exam. With the Hokage gone, the final stage of the Chunin exams was effectively cancelled, overshadowed by the invasion. Yet official test rulings were eventually announced. Shikamaru, Temari, Kankuro, and even Gaara's status remained pending. Naruto's own victory over Neji was recognized, but no formal promotions were confirmed. Everything was in disarray. Jiraiya was approached by village elders, who pressed him to become the fifth Hokage. He refused, claiming he was too free-spirited for the hat, but proposed to search for another candidate, Tsunade. The legendary Slug Princess, rumored to be roaming the land. Naruto overheard rumors about this plan. On top of it all, there was talk of the Akatsuki, an elusive group seeking the Nine Tails. And that robed figure in Naruto's nightmares loomed. The swirl of bigger threats only deepened. One morning, as Naruto helped clear rubble near the southwestern district, Jiraiya found him. Pack up, brat. We're leaving the village for a while. Gotta find Tsunade. You're coming with me. Naruto paused, sweaty from hauling broken wood. Why me? Jiraiya's tone was surprisingly gentle. You need training and the village needs a new Hokage. I can't do this alone. Let's go. Naruto glanced around at the half-ruined buildings, guilt churning. Should he really leave now? But the rebuilding effort was well underway. And if Tsunade was the best chance for a new Hokage, maybe it was the right move. Fine, he said, exhaling. Just let me say goodbye to a few people. 9. Threads of romance and farewells. That afternoon, Naruto wandered the village to bid farewell. He found Hinata near the hospital, where she was helping tend to patients. She blushed upon seeing him, fidgeting with the hem of her jacket. I heard you're leaving with Jiraiya-sama, she whispered. Yeah, I'm not sure how long we'll be gone. They walked a small path near the hospital garden. Soft sunlight glinted off the leaves. Hinata's cheeks warmed with each step, her voice trembling. You'll be careful, right? Naruto paused, turning to face her. I will. And, thanks for everything. He mustered courage, recalling the times he'd leaned on her quiet support. Leaning in, he pressed a brief but sincere kiss to her forehead. She gasped, face aflame. He offered a gentle smile. I promise I'll come back stronger. We'll spar someday, no more bullies like Neji beating you down. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she nodded, a tiny smile curving her lips. Good luck, Naruto-kun. Next, he swung by Ichiraku to see Ayame. She gave him an extra-large serving of ramen, on the house, hugging him tight. Come back in one piece, got it? I'll have your favorite ready. Finally, he stopped by the gates, where T's. Unami, who'd traveled to Konoha for a short visit, bringing medicine from the land of waves, waited with a cart of supplies. She was returning home that evening. Upon spotting Naruto, she put aside her task, gaze softening. He tugged his orange jacket collar, heart flipping. Memories of their intimate moments in Wave Country fluttered in his mind. You're heading back soon, she nodded. Yes, father's waiting, but I had to see how the village fared. It's heartbreaking to see so much destruction. I'm relieved you're okay. Naruto stepped closer, voice quiet. We got hit hard, but we're rebuilding. He hesitated, glancing around to make sure no one else was eavesdropping. Then, gently, he pulled Tsunami into a brief but heartfelt hug. She held him, eyes closed, lips trembling. Thank you for everything you've done for us and for me. He lowered his head to hers, letting the moment linger. Then he pressed a tender kiss to her cheek. She returned a soft peck, her breath warm against his ear. They broke apart, flustered but content. She offered a sad smile. Be safe, Naruto, and come visit the land of waves again someday, if you can. He swallowed against the ache in his chest. I promise I will. With that, Tsunami departed, heading east, while Naruto turned west, where Jiraiya was waiting. 10. The open road. They left the village at sunrise. Naruto walked beside Jiraiya, pack slung over his shoulder. A new sense of purpose swelled in his chest, though sorrow for the Hokage's death lingered. Jiraiya stifled a yawn. First stop, some minor villages where Tsunade might be gambling. She's got a habit. Naruto blinked. Gambling. That's what the 5th Hokage's supposed to do. Jiraiya chuckled. Don't question her ways. She's the best medic nin in the world, too. We need her more than ever. As they ventured down the main road, the system displayed a fresh quest. Find Tsunade and secure the 5th Hokage. Objective. Assist Jiraiya in recruiting Tsunade. Reward. Naruto exhaled. A new chapter was beginning. But we're not done, are we? He recalled that robed figure's cryptic warnings. Orochimaru might be injured but still free. Sasuke wrestled with the curse mark's dark power. The Akatsuki was rumored to be stirring. So many threats, but he'd face them all. He had to. 11. Shadowed watchers. High above in the boughs of a towering pine, that same robed figure stood, watch. Hing Naruto and Jiraiya fade into the distance. Flickers of morning light revealed only the curve of a sly smile beneath the hood. Another silhouette emerged from behind the trunk, draped in black wit. Strange markings swirling on the sleeves. The leaf survived. Orochimaru failed. The robed figure nodded, voice low. But the boy grows stronger. He's unlocking cheat codes at a rate beyond our initial projections. The second figure asked softly, shall we intervene now? A pause. The robed figure's lips curved in amusement. No, let him gather more power. Let him build more bonds. We'll see if his heart can bear the weight of a god or if it shatters. When the time is right, we'll claim him. A swirl of dark chakra enveloped them, and they vanished, leaving only rustling branches in their wake. 12. Pav. Naruto. Hey, curvy sage, Naruto said after hours of walking. What do you know about these weird guys who might be after the Nine Tails? Not Orochimaru, but some group called the Akatsuki. Jiraiya's eyes flicked with caution. They're no joke. A band of S-rank missing nin from various villages, rumored to want the tailed beasts. Don't worry while you're with me, they won't get close. Naruto frowned but nodded. All right. The system scrolled in his peripheral view, listing placeholders for new arcs. He glimpsed references to unstoppable foes, distant realms, potential cheat codes yet to be unlocked. He turned his gaze to the sky, letting the golden light wash over him. I still want to become Hokage, he murmured, half to himself. But, is that even enough? If Bigger T, Reeds can just waltz in and wreck everything. Jiraiya's tone was uncharacteristically serious. Being Hokage is about protecting what matters. That's always worth it even if the world is bigger and scarier than you realize. Naruto swallowed, remembering the third Hokage's sacrifice. The ache in his chest pulsed with renewed resolve. Yeah, I'll keep fighting no matter how big the threat. 13. Dreams and doubts. They paused at a roadside inn that night, exhausted from travel. Jiraiya vanished to do his usual research, leaving Naruto alone in a cramped room. The moment he collapsed on the futon, the system beeped. Nightmare detected. Mental stress +10. He frowned. Already. Sure enough, the moment he closed his eyes, he was seized by visions, the robed figure beckoning from a swirling void, mocking him for his failures. The image of the third Hokage's funeral, Tsunami's tearful farewell, Sasuke's curse mark crawling across pale skin. He tossed and turned, sweat soaking his sheets. In a haze, he felt the Kyuubi's presence roil in the pit of his stomach, threatening to break free of Jiraiya's careful seals. With a jolt, he woke, breathing hard. Moonlight filtered through the dusty window. He sat up, heart pounding. I can't let them see me break. He pressed a palm to his stomach, feeling the faint warmth of the improved seal. Slowly, the swirling panic eased. He checked the systems, cheat codes, tab. Most remained locked. Reality warp, God's hand, limit break, the names alone stirred curiosity and dread. If the day came when he unleashed them, would it be enough to protect everyone? Or would he lose himself? Shaking off the gloom, he forced himself to calm. He had people waiting for him: Hinata, Ayame, Tsunami. He had Sakura and Sasuke, a rival who pushed him to new heights. Kakashi, Jiraiya, the entire village. He'd find a way. 14. Echoes of the future. Days turned to weeks. Naruto and Jiraiya hopped from town to town, following rumors of Tsunade's gambling sprees. In each place, Naruto tried practicing new jutsu. Some days were triumphant, like when he successfully summoned a mid-sized toad in a pinch. Others were disastrous, leaving him soaked in toad slime or with a half-broken-in wall from a misfired technique. All the while, he felt the weight of many eyes on him. Not just Jiraiya's watchful gaze, but a deeper scrutiny, as though an invisible presence followed. Occasionally, he'd sense the robed figure in the corner of his vision, only for them to vanish a heartbeat later. One evening, around a campfire, Jiraiya eyed him thoughtfully. You keep glancing over your shoulder, kid. Something on your mind? Naruto swallowed, debating how much to reveal. The system, the robed watchers, these were secrets he'd guarded. But maybe Jiraiya needed to know. So, in halting words, Naruto explained that he felt a presence, an unknown group that might be testing or monitoring him. He left out the gamer interface's intimate details, focusing instead on the sense of being manipulated. Jiraiya's expression darkened. I suspected something. If they're not with Orochimaru or the Akatsuki, they could be a separate power entirely. He tapped his chin. Whatever they are, we can't let them control you. Your fate is yours. Naruto nodded, relieved Jiraiya took him seriously. Right. 15. Showdown in the ruined temple. At last, they received word that Tsunade was sighted near a deserted temple on the outskirts of Tanzaku town. Jiraiya rushed them over, excitement in his step. But upon arrival, they found the temple partially destroyed. Crumbling pillars and shattered statues littered the courtyard. Tsunade was nowhere to be seen, but Naruto felt a familiar chill in the air. Jiraiya, you feel that? The Sannin's brow furrowed. Yeah, chakra residue. A swirling gust kicked up dust. Out of the temple's broken arch stepped a figure cloaked in black robes, face obscured by a hood. Beside them stood a second, equally mysterious silhouette. Naruto's heart pounded. Greetings, Naruto Uzumaki. The first figure said, voice echoing with unnatural timbre. We were hoping to see how you've grown. Jiraiya took a protective stance. These your watchers, brat. Naruto nodded grimly. Looks like it. The second figure stepped forward, arms crossing. Your progress is impressive, unlocking cheat codes at a remarkable pace. But we need more data. Naruto's blood ran cold. What do you want from me? The first figure chuckled. We want to see if you're worthy to ascend beyond mortal constraints, or if you'll be consumed by your own power. Before Jiraiya could retort, the second figure flicked a hand. A wave of crushing chakra slammed into them. The ground cracked. Naruto staggered, summoning the Nine Tails cloak in reflex. Jiraiya cursed, forming a barrier of swirling water to deflect the brunt. The robed duo attacked. Pulses of dark energy battered the courtyard. Jiraiya barked at Naruto, don't hold back. Naruto formed dozens of shadow clones, each wreathed in red demon chakra. They surged at the robed figures from all sides. One figure gracefully sidestepped, launching a black tendril of energy that snared entire groups of clones, dissolving them in a cacophony of pops. Jiraiya tried to entrap the second figure with a toad oil flamethrower, spitting oil that ignited midair. It splashed into rubble, scorching a wide path, but the figure emerged unscathed. Some strange aura deflecting the flames. Naruto felt frustration build. Even with the Kyuubi's might, the robed figures brushed aside his clones. The system beeped frantically. Warning. Overwhelming adversary. Searching for possible cheat code solutions. He gritted his teeth, pushing more chakra. He formed an embryonic Rasengan in his right palm. Eat this. He lunged at the closer figure, who blocked with an effortless wave of black power. The Rasengan fizzled. Naruto knocked back into a broken pillar. Pain flared. The robed figure's voice was calm, almost pitying. Still incomplete. You're not ready for the final codes. A shame. Jiraiya, veins bulging from the strain of channeling huge amounts of chakra, slammed his palm on the ground. Summoning jutsu. A massive toad materialized, crashing down. It bellowed, brandishing a tanto. Jiraiya pointed at the robed intruders. Take them out. The toad swiped. Dust and debris rained. For an instant, the robed pair seemed pinned. But the second figure faster than thought sliced the giant toad's blade in half with a conjured spear of swirling blackness. The toad yelped, stumbling back. Naruto's heart pounded. They're unstoppable. The first figure turned a dispassionate gaze on Jiraiya. We've seen enough. The boy still has potential. But this meeting is premature. Naruto coughed, forcing himself upright. I'm not done yet. He tried to muster another wave of clones. Before he could, the second figure flicked their wrist, unleashing a concentrated blast of energy that hurled both Naruto and Jiraiya across the courtyard. They crashed through pillars, rolling in heaps of rubble. Groaning, Naruto blinked through swirling dust. The robed figures vanished in a distortion of space, leaving behind only a hush of night air. 16. Recovery and revelation. By the time Naruto regained his breath, Jiraiya was pulling himself free of broken stones. The giant toad had dispersed. Naruto wiped blood from his mouth. Who the hell are they? Jiraiya's expression was grim. I don't know, but they were at least on par with the Akatsuki's top members, maybe beyond. Naruto felt the system's interface flicker. Hidden quest updated. Survive the robed ones. Outcome. Partial success. He spat dust. TCH. We couldn't even scratch them. They carefully limped around the wreckage, calling Tsunade's name, but found no sign of her. After a while, they concluded she must have left before the robed figures arrived. With battered pride, they staggered to a nearby inn. In a cramped room, Jiraiya applied salves to Naruto's bruises. Kid, from now on, we keep an eye out for those creeps. You might want to push your training even harder. Naruto slumped. I know. His mind whirled. The day he faced those robed watch. RS for real. Would even his cheat codes suffice? Or was he just a toy in their cosmic game? 17. Bonds and choices. Night settled in, the inn quiet except for the hum of distant voices. Naruto lay on a futon, body sore from the temple clash. Yet his mind drifted to those waiting for him back home. Hinata, Ayame, Tsunami and Wave. He replayed the frantic kisses and soft confessions, the promises he'd made to keep them safe. He stared at the moonlit ceiling. I can't lose anyone else like we lost the Hokage. He opened his skill menus, scanning for new improvements. Small increments here and there. Wind style. Rasengan 25% progress. Summoning Toads LV2. Chakra control intermediate LV5. Cheat codes remained mostly locked except for the Kyuubi key and chakra reset. Reality warp, God's hand. Limit break, all teased him from behind digital locks. A short tooltip read. Unlock conditions triggered by extreme emotional impetus or storyline progression. He scoffed quietly. Storyline progression. This is bigger than a story. But that was the odd duality of his life now. He was a shinobi forging bonds, yet also a player in some cosmic game. 18. Uncertain peace. Back in Konoha, reconstruction pressed on. A hush of mourning lingered, but the resilient will of fire burned bright. Kakashi oversaw squads patching the craters left by invading summons. Guy and Lee trained vigorously. Lee's injuries from Gaara's brutal match healing slowly under skilled medics. Sasuke was discharged from the hospital, curse mark suppressed. He stared at the training fields with restless eyes, hungry for power. A swirl of bitterness coiled within him as he recalled Naruto's unstoppable demon aura. How is he so strong? Sakura volunteered at the hospital, feeling overshadowed but determined to grow. If anything, the invasion taught them all that raw skill was never enough. Every so often, rumors flickered that Orochimaru's spies lurked nearby, or that the Akatsuki was on the move. Tensions climbed. 19. Glimpse of the future. Weeks later, Naruto and Jiraiya tracked Tsunade to a bustling town known for its casinos. They spotted a flash of blonde hair and realized it was her. But just as they approached, she bolted. The chase led through winding alleys until Jiraiya finally cornered her at a seedy bar. Long time no see, Tsunade, he said, leaning against the doorframe. Naruto peeked from behind, curious about the legendary Sannin. Tsunade scowled, amber eyes narrowed. What do you want, Jiraiya? He gave a faint grin. The village needs a Hokage. Sarutobi-sensei wanted you to take over. Her expression twisted with bitterness. Me, Hokage? Don't joke. I'm done with that place. Naruto bristled, stepping forward. Hey, the village lost the old man because of Orochimaru. We can't just let it fall apart. Tsunade turned her gaze on him, a flicker of interest. You're that Nine-Tails kid, right? She scanned him up and down with an appraising look. Heard rumors you survived the invasion. Not bad. Naruto grit his teeth, ignoring the jab. We're not here for your compliments. We need you to come back. Jiraiya placed a calming hand on Naruto's shoulder. Then he turned serious eyes on Tsunade. Tsunade, the leaf is hurting. Don't let your grief overshadow your duty. She stared at him, tension bristling. Finally, she exhaled, looking away. I have debts and reasons, but I'll think about it. Meet me tomorrow. We'll discuss terms. Naruto frowned. She was so cavalier about the position. But Jiraiya simply nodded, leading him away. Baby steps, he muttered. 20. Seeds of hope. That night, Naruto walked the empty streets of the gambling town, remembering the swirl of heartbreak in Tsunade's eyes. Perhaps she carried a grief of her own. He realized that everyone had lost something. His path was only one among many. He paused under a flickering lamppost, pulling out a battered old leaf forehead protector from his pouch, the same one Iruka gave him after graduation. He traced the symbol with a thumb. No matter what, I'll protect Konoha. He recalled the robed watchers, Orochimaru's vile presence, the future threats. His system icons flickered. New quests, new arcs. This was only the beginning. Naruto's paw of introspection. I'm not the same clueless kid I was when I first discovered the gamer system. I've tasted heartbreak and victory, formed bonds that matter more than any jutsu. I'm stronger, but also more aware of how far I have to go. If the world is giving me these cheat codes, I'll use them to protect everything I hold dear, and maybe prove that no matter how strong these robed freaks are, they can't break me. He gazed at the moon, a steeled resolve settling in his chest. The next day would bring a showdown of wills with Tsunade, maybe even a confrontation if she refused. And beyond that, the horizon of new enemies Akatsuki, robed watchers, the unknown cosmic game awaited. Still, a small smile tugged at his lips. I have my friends, my precious people, waiting for me. Hinata, Ayame, Tsunami, I won't leave them behind. I'll keep forging ahead until the world sees me as Hokage or maybe something even greater. 21. Quiet before the storm. The next morning dawned bright, promising but tense. Jiraiya and Naruto met Tsunade in a deserted field near town, discussing the village's need. Tsunade gave them half-hearted acceptance, still conflicted. But as their argument rose, a pair of cloaked figures with orange clouds on their cloaks stepped onto the field, members of Akatsuki. Naruto's chest constricted. So soon? He braced himself. But the two, after a brief menacing exchange, departed, apparently uninterested in a full confrontation. They were scouting, no doubt. Tsunade stared after them, expression grim. That's the kind of enemy you're dealing with now. Fine, I'll go to Konoha, if only to keep that place from sinking into chaos. Jiraiya exhaled in relief. Naruto managed a grin. Looks like we're heading home. 22. Back in the Leaf. Within days, Tsunade was installed as the 5th Hokage, welcomed by a mixture of hope and apprehension. She wasted no time ordering a thorough medical rehaul, saving Rock Lee's shattered limbs, checking on Sasuke's curse mark, and evaluating the entire shinobi force. Rebuilding advanced under her leadership. Naruto returned with Jiraiya, battered but proud. Old man Tsuki at Ichiraku refused to let Naruto pay for ramen that evening, calling him the future of the village. Sasuke avoided him, jealousy simmering beneath the surface. But Naruto could sense a new tension in his rival, like a storm waiting to break. Sakura, for her part, thanked Naruto tearfully for saving the village from Gaara, then asked Tsunade to train her in medical ninjutsu. Hinata shyly brought Naruto a homemade bento, blushing every time he thanked her. Ayame teased him about filling out a harem application, though Naruto's cheeks colored at the idea. He thought of Tsunami, far away in the land of waves. Warmth bloomed in his chest. Maybe I am a bit of a playboy, he admitted to himself with a sheepish grin. 23. Looming shadows. One evening, Naruto visited the 3rd Hokage's memorial stone, a small bouquet in hand. He knelt, placing the flowers gently. Memories of the old man's laugh, his paternal guidance, flickered in Naruto's mind. He whispered, I promise I'll protect this village, even if it means going against gods. Watch me, old man. Suddenly, a swirl of air disturbed the clearing. Naruto's hand shot to a kunai. His system flashed. Hostility detected. No, familiar presence. He turned. The robed figure from before hovered by a twisted tree, silent, intangible. Naruto's heart pounded. What do you want? He growled. The figure's voice was soft this time. We do not come to fight, yet. Us to remind you, your cheat codes are only the beginning. When you next unlock a new one, we'll test you again. Prepare yourself. Naruto scowled. I won't dance to your tune. A pause. The figure let out a low laugh. We shall see. For now, enjoy your fleeting peace. Their form dissolved into flickers of shadow, leaving Naruto alone in the moonlit clearing. He clenched his fists, blood boiling. They think they can manipulate me. They're wrong. 24. A vow renewed. Standing by the memorial stone, Naruto calmed himself with deep breaths. The hush of the night seemed to cradle his resolve. He recalled the swirl of future threats. Orochimaru, the robed watchers, the Akatsuki. And beyond them, who knew what cosmic trials awaited? But he wasn't alone. He had a village rising from the ashes, a new Hokage in Tsunade, cherished friends. And those who cared about him. The system beeped in quiet affirmation. Main quest ongoing. Protect Konoha, become Hokage, unravel the gamer's secrets. A faint smile touched his lips. All right, then, he murmured. Bring it on. 25. Epilogue. The road ahead. At sunrise the next day, Naruto joined Tsunade's announcement at the rebuilt Hokage Tower. Citizens gathered below, cheering as she declared a new era for Konoha. Banners flapped, hope restored. Naruto lingered at the edge of the crowd, an odd mixture of pride and restlessness. He felt a hand on his shoulder, Kakashi. Eye crinkling in a rare smile. You've done well, Naruto. Keep it up. Naruto nodded, heart swelling. He spotted Hinata among the crowd, offering a wave. Ayame too, an encouraging grin across her face. And though Tsunami was absent, he imagined her warm smile, supportive from afar. Beyond them, Sasuke watched from a rooftop, silent and brooding. A flicker of the cursed seal hidden beneath his collar. A tension that would inevitably break. But for now, the village had a moment of peace. Naruto breathed in the crisp morning air, gaze straying to the horizon. The systems notify. Cations twinkled in the corner of his vision, the next arc's waiting. The final words from the robed figure echoed in his mind, gods are oblivion. He let out a breath, fire igniting in his belly. I'll forge my own path. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the gamer shinobi, and this is just the start. A slow grin found his lips. He turned toward the bustling city, ready to greet the new day, a swirl of red chakra F. Lickering like a guardian flame at his core. No matter what cosmic game loomed, he'd keep climbing, keep loving, keep protecting. Because that was his ninja way. End of Chapter 5. Author's note. Thus concludes this arc of Naruto, the gamer's god mode. Our hero has faced down an invasion, confronted the legendary Orochimaru, and unlocked new cheat codes with each trial. He's forged deeper bonds, Fr. Own Hinata's gentle devotion to Tsunami's heartfelt affection and Ayame's warm support, forming a budding harem around his brash heart. Yet looming threats remain: Akatsuki, the robed watchers, and Kuz. Mike forces beyond the known shinobi world. With Tsunade as 5th Hokage and the Leaf Village on the path to recovery, Naruto stands at the threshold of a grander destiny. The question lingers: will he master the game's ultimate cheat codes? Or will they master him? One thing is certain: the saga of the gamer shinobi is far from over. Stay tuned for the next epic arc, where new allies, fiercer enemies, and deeper secrets about the gamer system await. The road to becoming Hokage and perhaps something greater continues, fueled by Naruto's unbreakable determination and the bonds he refuses to abandon. End of Book 1. To be continued.